Hi,
How are
I'm
you
happy to
doing?
be here.
Glad to have you.
I'm doing pretty good. Thank you very much.
We this is our second try, and this time it worked. I think the first time you had some microphone issues.
Yeah, I
Uh,
actually had an injury.
okay, I see.
Now I'm
But
fine.
glad that it worked out this time. Although this time it's a different topic. Last time I think we would have spoken about inceldom,
Yeah,
and this time we're talking about immigration.
also
And
an interesting topic.
I think so too. Yeah. Um, this is basically the first conversation where I wait 1 second. Sorry, I have to fix your image. Sorry for that. Okay, so yeah, basically this was the first conversation where I was not really able to prepare a lot since you, as far as I know, you've just uploaded one video on the topic, uh, correct? And
Yeah,
so basically, topic wise, we will go by what you have suggested when you wanted to have this conversation. So, but before we start with that, I would like to just ask you to introduce yourself and just talk to us about what you do and what your channel is about. And yeah. And what I
yeah.
also would like to know is, sorry to just give another interjection, but I would really like to know what the services you would like to provide to your viewers. What's your purpose for doing these videos?
Okay. So I just started by watching other people's videos about subjects that interest me, which are probably in the incel, the guys you have all interviewed like Turbo Black. So for people who know that kind of content. Uh, that was the content I was consuming, and I discussed it a lot with my friends, with my close friends who are also interested in those topics. And I have always noticed, and with my friends' feedback too, that I have not a good way to put things, but a lot of interesting insights on the subjects. And the idea to create a channel was always in my head, but I have never had the courage to start one until the debate with wheat waffles. I did not do well on that debate. It was my first experience talking like this, especially it was like recorded with someone who had much more experience than me. But then when I had time to reflect on it, a lot of points popped up, and I said, okay, I can make really interesting videos about these topics. And I started doing videos, and now I have almost 60 subscribers, and it is fun. I'm not yet offering any services, or it's not. I have another. I have a serious job, and I'm just upload videos when I have time. I can tell you also about the backgrounds that allows me also to discuss today's subjects if you're interested.
Sure. Before we go there, just a quick question in regards to the insights that you're able to provide. Uh, I I've talked about incel topics a lot on this channel, but as I've already told in past streams, that this is just one topic that I'm doing, and it's not the everything that I want to do. I don't want to have my channel evolve around just one topic. So we're probably not going to be able to talk about inceldom a lot on in this talk, but what still makes me curious is what gives you, like, when did you think, okay, these insights might be valuable for somebody else, and what are you basically, what perspective are you trying to change? So where would somebody start before watching your channel, and where would he end ideally, from your perspective?
The thing is, not all the videos I put on have a solution in them. If I see a possible solution, I try to upload it, but most of the times it's just observations and realizations about the world that is happening and the way the world is changing, or other people's content, where for example I feel that someone who is way more famous is lacking something or is lacking perspective. Because, and I don't want to get into like because I can fully understand that you don't want your channel to revolve around this niche subject, but within that subject itself there are a lot of points I can discuss. And as someone who had experienced being like looking a certain way and then improving on that, I have the perspective of someone who suffered from the dating market. Well, you know all this, what is this is all about. And I make content. If people like them, they will probably be shared more, and that's how the algorithm works. If people do not agree with me, I will just simply stop doing the videos. So it's not that I decided to quit my job and focus on this, but I think of an idea that is interesting, and instead of just telling it to my cousin or to my friend, I just record a video about it and I send it to them. Therefore, if someone is also interested, I answer all the comments. I don't have that many, so I am able to answer all of them. And there are always good ways to start conversations with people that then we pursue later on Discord and on other sites. So it's not that I'm selling a solution that you suffer from a problem, you watch my video, and then you find a solution that's going to change your life. But it's mostly to have discussions similar to the one we're going to have about immigration, even though the topic is different. I doubt that you and I can just provide a solution for this problem here on this YouTube stream, but it will be an interesting conversation nevertheless.
Yeah, I kind of agree, but I think it's part of the solution. I guess it's definitely one part of the solution is to have a discussion about it. I think so. In a sense, I think this is solving the problem, even though if it's a very, 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 very small step. But
Well,
yeah,
if we change the opinion of one person, that's already a success.
yes, yes. Um, okay. So you basically may I ask how old you are?
I'm 28, 29 years old. I just turned 29 3 days ago.
Okay, you look younger. But I can't never tell
Uh,
with it's really difficult to tell. But I would have thought you were younger.
um, Maybe that's a good thing.
I think that's in our age. That's a good thing. It starts to become a good thing. Used to be a bad thing to look young, but no, I think it's a good thing. Um, okay, cool. Then I think the first thing that really caught my attention was the way you phrased your suggestion to have a conversation. You said, "Are you interested in the perspective of someone who did immigrate from North Africa to a white country?" Uh,
Yes,
my
because not. Go ahead.
yeah, my question would be, I would consider myself strongly on the left, but I am also strongly opposed to your personal history in any way, shape, or form, giving you uh, credibility or uh, a special insight about an a purely intellectual conversation. So I guess my
Can
question would
I?
be, yeah.
I didn't have time to develop that much on that message, but if you
Mm-hmm.
allow me to uh, say it more clearly, why I think I would have a different perspective. Okay,
Sure.
first of all, I am from an middle upper class family from Africa, which means all of my cousins, at least the successful one of them, would be out of the country by the time they finish high school. So, for example, I would have one cousin in France, the other in Germany, the other in the USA, and I myself in Russia, and I'm living with another cousin. So it's a family where it's pretty common to just leave the country and immigrate, which will lead later to the future generation that's gonna have like to bring their families back and live there. For example, I do not have any intention to go back to my former country. And since I came to Russia, which is not Europe, which does not have the same level of immigration as Europe, I can see what Europe was about 20 to 30 years ago. And with this perspective, because I know for example, how my cousins who are in France, how they live, the constant struggle between, the right parties that want them out, the racism, all the problems that are
Wait,
related to
j-
immigration
j-
that we discuss surely.
just one question:
Yeah,
how do you, why do you assume that Russia is like Germany or France before immigration? I mean, like 20 or 30
sheer
years ago.
numbers, sheer numbers, just numbers.
I
It's
mean,
by
it's like,
numbers, like how many immigrants are there.
I mean, Germany, for example, the immigration to Germany started in the 1960s. So that's like almost 60,
If
65,
if it
64 years ago.
starts,
That's a
it's not
huge
by how
wave.
much it
Like,
starts, but how many.
I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
the
I see it. I mean,
we have a
go ahead.
small delay, I think, because that's why we keep interrupting each other. But the biggest wave, like one of the biggest waves of immigrants came in the 60s as the first generation of guest workers, especially from Turkey, from ex-Yugoslavia. And so this is like a long, long time ago. I don't see how you could draw this comparison. I mean, would you suggest that Russia is now like Germany before my immigration? What would that even look like? That would be like 1950s Germany.
No, you see, I do not know like exactly when it started in Europe, neither when it started actually in Russia, but I'm talking about the numbers, like the
Mm-hmm.
proportions of the white people, or how do you want to call them, like the locals, the there is always a word for
The
them, like for
ethnic
example,
Rush.
the local pop.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean it's even
the
difficult to say
proportion.
ethnic Russians because there's also other ethnicities in Russia, I guess, which were there
Yeah,
forever.
yeah, but I've been only 10 years in Russia, and there are already places appearing where there are like metro stations, or you know how you divide the city, right? There are metro stations in Russia where you don't hear people speaking Russian anymore, for example. You only hear other languages, which is something that's happening more and more in France. The last time I have been in Europe, it was 5 years ago, and I can already see how this is on a spectrum. You see, in France, the number of immigrants is times more the number of immigrants in Russia. But with the way the policies are going right here, the way they're changing, I'm following how they're changing the rules and how they are trying to bring in more immigration by like having a better selection according to them, or by sending back the ones who are criminal and stuff like this. And I'm seeing exactly what France have been doing, or I don't know if it's Germany too, or let's say what's Europe has been doing in the last 5 to 10 years. The war of should we bring more, should we bring less, the fact that they're bringing their family members, how we should do this. Russia is like at the start of this. You see, I'm seeing it happen right now in Russia, and I'm thinking, okay,
So
this is what was
so
happening in France a few years ago.
so just to break it down, you think that you have a special access to information. That's what basically makes it important that you are an immigrant that immigrated into a white country.
Yeah. You also another very important point is that I'm trying to stay pretty objective about this, not because I'm from the country who quote unquote benefits from immigration. Like I can say like the more they bring of us, the better. No, because as someone who is in a white country, I feel that even myself being an immigrant, I think they should have more limits on immigration. And
Okay.
that's not a point I have with my fellow, for example, with other people from North Africa who wouldn't care about how other people would feel or how it would impact Europe and the culture and the civilization in Europe. They would just want it to be open so they can have more friends here, for example.
I mean, I guess I would object in both of these points. Like the first point being that you have more access to information. I don't think that. I don't think that personal experience is access to information. I think that somebody can sit down and find out way more, like sit down and study Russian economics, Russian demography, even go there and visit and see, and at the end have much more information about the current state of Russia than just immigrating there. Just I mean, I guess that would be valid for everything. I think like
I
personal
don't think you have
experience.
access for
Yeah,
parliament. For example, if you watch videos of the parliament in Russian when they are discussing the subject of immigration, these things are not translated. You need to know Russian to see how in the
sure.
parliament they're discussing the conversation about immigration. And
Sure.
when I'm applying for when I'm applying for papers myself, the way in these centers, because it's centralized, there is only one place in Moscow when you can do all of this. So it's like they proceed millions of people there, and the way they try to regulate immigration in Moscow, for example, it gives you a perspective that you cannot just Google or watch online. And
Sure,
this is,
but
I know this is only about Russia, also only if it's true that my prior statement that it is going the same way that Europe is going. Because if I'm wrong with that, then you're completely right. I have no
yeah, we
special
don't know, but
information.
that we don't know, right? So we can't see the future. So that is not really a point that you can use. But I mean, the issue that I have is that if somebody would write me and tell me, listen, I have studied economics. I'm living in Russia, or I'm not. I don't even have to live. You don't even have to live in Russia, but I have X Y qualifications to talk about this topic. I feel like that's from there we can almost directly insinuate that there is a certain special access to information that, like for example, speaking Russian, it definitely is a special access to information. There, I agree. But personal experience and personal history, I feel like, is not special access to information. And on the other point, that you are more objective because you have you're basically I mean, I believe you. It's not that I don't believe you, but firstly, if how would you know that you're not objective, right? That would be quite an impossible task to accomplish. To know that you're. I mean, you
Yeah.
could try to be aware of your biases, but if you say that you don't have any biases, we would never know, right? You would also never know.
Yeah.
Like that's pretty difficult
I
to assess
can,
for
I
yourself. Only somebody else can assess that for you, that you're objective, I think. So you can of course add, I mean, you can tell me I'm trying to be objective, and I can believe you, like, and I would believe you if you would, for example, provide me with certain measures that you take for yourself in order to be more objective. But again, just the fact that you are an immigrant, I feel like that doesn't make you objective. Because let me tell you why. Because I know a lot of people that are immigrants themselves, and I am a second. I was born and raised here, but my parents were immigrants into this country. Um, not from North Africa, but from the Middle East, which is pretty close, both in geography and culture. But and I know plenty of people that are uh, against immigration for all sorts of very subjective reasons. The first one being that they just want to, they know that, or they think that immigration has a toll on the economy, and they just don't want to pay that toll. Like, there will be just a subjective reason for saying no, I don't want immigration, even though you're an immigrant yourself. So you say, okay, I can come in, but they should not profit from this country because I want to profit more, which would be a subjective reason, which would make you biased because you have a conflict of interest there. And then also, it might also be that I think some immigrants or some immigrants from the second generation try to appeal to a right wing society, or to yeah, I mean, they just try to appeal to and appease right wing people in their country by also opposing immigration. And the right wing people use these token immigrants to say, look, even the immigrants say that this is the case, and these immigrants profit a lot from this position. So if you're an immigrant that says, I want other immigrants to get in,
White
you don't
lie. You mean
want, so you don't profit at
you
all
mean
from
you're
that.
a white
But
lie.
yeah, exactly, like exactly, so you profit a lot from that. So yeah, I think yeah,
Yeah,
I made my point
I can
here.
see. Also, I can, I can, I totally understand the position. It's not, you see, the point I'm trying to make is not that I'm trying to appeal to the whites. At least you can never verify that. But you see, and when I'm having a conversation with someone who's, let's say, clearly white, how to put it? Let's say supremacist or racist, or these kind of people who happens to confide in me and tell me that we're just having a conversation between quote unquote like friends or colleagues, and you see, I try, even though I would be someone who should be offended by these, you see, these accusations, or you are ruining our culture, or you are, it was better when you were not around and stuff like this. But then when I'm presented with, again, I would say subjective, because it's not that the statistics that matter. It's not that you show me how many immigrants and it's gonna bother me. But if you tell me like you're walking on the street, and the difference between today and 10 years ago, it's noticeable. The people who are not Russian, who do not speak the Russian language loud, who are um, committing minor crimes or like something like this, and you see them and it actually checks out. I know it's still subjective, but if you're telling, for example, a story like this, and I just want to make my point clear. For example, you're walking into, you walk into Germany, and there is a woman who has two kids playing. She's pushing the third kid, and she's already pregnant. Okay, now if you close your eyes and picture the situation, you already know that the ethnics of that woman. You know she's most likely not a blonde German woman. You see, and that is not something objective. You cannot show that in statistics. Yet, you, as
Uh,
someone who's living in Germany and a
Wait,
story,
do you know
you see the
what?
point
Do you know what? Do you know the term white trash?
about white women or something, or
Like white trash is a pejorative term for very low class white people that live like in trailers or something like that. It's like a cliche uh, Australian trailer park or uh, London suburbs white
okay,
working
lower
class.
class of white
Yeah,
people.
lower class, not even working class, but even lower than that, like social security. And I mean, I think I just, maybe I'm just so not racist that I don't immediately see a race when you paint that picture. But that's the image that also would come to mind. That's not like, I mean, I could imagine her even smoking a cigarette at the same time. And so yeah, so I feel like that's more of a class thing. So there is even before we really get into, we can get into this thing of, I think that you the thing that you want to insinuate is that cliches and prejudices might hurt us on an individual level, but they in reality they're still there, and even though they hurt our feelings, there it's reality. That's what you want to say, right?
Because I was like, I was
But
like you. I don't want to accuse you of anything,
wait,
but
wait, can you
it
just
was, you
say
see,
yes? Can you just say yes or no, so I know if I was correct in that assessment?
I I honestly never lived in Europe, so I cannot tell
No, is
for
that what you
the white
meant?
trash
No,
category.
I mean, is that what you meant? Is
Yeah,
what
yeah,
you meant? Okay,
exactly what I meant.
okay, okay,
That is exactly what I meant.
okay.
That is
Hmm.
exactly what I meant. When you hear, it
But
is sad because I don't want it to be the case. You see, I don't want it to be the case. But if I
sure.
hear about like a bad incident. I don't know about the words that I'm not allowed to say, so I'm just gonna put the contest. If something bad happened to a white woman and the culprit is someone from my country, it hurts me a lot. But
Hmm.
I cannot deny that it is the case. You see,
Hmm.
because the fact that we are not the majority in this country, like country from the North Africa, we are not
Hmm.
even 0.1% in Moscow. So why that every time the crime that happens like that, I know there's also like reporting, it gets reported a lot when it's some foreigner. I'm not saying I have access to the stats, but even in daily life, this quote, I thought of this quote right after I we talked about this interview that we're gonna do, the this situation. It was one colleague who worked as the security, so he's not like colleague. He just works in the same place as me, and he was telling me about his friend that got deported to one of the close countries to Russia, which is, let's face it, is the same situation as North Africa. You know, the country where people come from. He got deported, and I'm asking him, did he get deported because he failed to get some documents in order or something like this? He told me, nah, he just had like a little fight. He burned some car here and there, and that's it. And they deported him and don't want to accept him back. So he just told me the fact that his friend torched a car as a minor incident a little detail in the story, and I'm thinking, okay, these people are crazy. I know this is one incident, this is one person with one crazy friend, but the standards, the way they talk about it, okay, uh, I do not see a lot of locals or a lot of people who grew up there, even if they are sons of immigrants like yourself, or like an immigrant, someone who grew here. And I have a theory on why that's the case, by the way,
Wait,
if you are
wait.
interested
You're
in.
going too fast. We should not skip the topics. But I'm really interested in all of the things that you've just talked about. So we're going to get to each and every one of the topics that you touched on. So the first thing I would like to just add, so is that uh, why I asked you, can you please say yes or no, was because I wanted to get to another point, but I didn't want to interrupt you. But the so you say, even though these cliches and these prejudices hurt our feelings, when we check it, it still holds true. But the problem,
Sadly,
but the
sadly.
okay, but the problem is that in order to check the truth, you still use your imagination. I think that's a little bit of a logical issue, because you say, let's check the reality of our prejudices, and then you say, imagine a woman doing X, Y, and Z, and your prejudices make you imagine
So,
how the
do you
woman
want
looks
the
like.
objective? Do you want an objective metric?
Wait, that's true, right? Isn't that is that
Yeah,
wrong?
there is an objective metric behind
I'm
this.
not
It's
saying
not
that there
just
is not.
imagination. Clearly,
I'm not saying that
no,
there is none,
there
but
is one.
I just said that it was
No,
not
there is one.
not a
There
good
is one
choice.
metric.
I'm not saying
No,
that.
it was brought. No, no. I'm just saying this is. I'm using this exact example because if you attack it on the subjectivity of it, it's just imagination. There are a lot of stats that actually objectively explain this. For example, the birth. I don't know the birth rate of Germany, the fertility rate in Germany, but you know it, right?
No, not really. Like, not by heart, but it's obvious.
It's
Wait, wait.
it's roughly.
We don't have to disagree on that. We agree on that. Like, I agree that foreigners get more babies than white
Yeah,
people.
it
But it's
is
not
it
that
is
I'm contesting
objectively
that.
measurable.
I'm just saying it was not such a. It's not a good point to say these are the prejudices. Let's try to check our prejudices with reality, and the means of checking prejudices versus reality is to imagine something with our prejudices in our mind. So a good way would be to say, okay, let's look at the prejudices against foreigners, and then let's look at some stats, because the stats are not filled, or hopefully are not filled with our prejudices, right? So that's just a methodical issue I have with your argument. Do you see my point?
Yes, I can see why it would be bad to do so, but
It
sadly
would not make
somehow it's
sense.
it's
No,
it's a little flawed.
it would not make sense, because you're trying to check something with something that is the same thing as the thing that you want to check. So you're trying to check your prejudices by using something that would also be influenced by your prejudices. So your imagination could not go without your prejudices, right? So if you imagine, let's say
I,
you have a prejudice, let's say you have a wrong prejudice. You have the wrong prejudice that all French people always carry a baguette with them. And then I tell you to check your prejudices by imagining a French guy, or imagining somebody with a baguette under his arm. You would immediately think about a French person because you have that prejudice, right? So just methodically, it makes no sense to make that point. So a better way would be to say, okay, let's look at the prejudice, and then let's look at some objective metric like a statistic. Would you agree there?
yes.
It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I agree that.
Okay.
Yeah, for example, if you say, I imagine a group of guys who did some trouble after a football game, okay? And my prejudice would be, it was some Arab guys who after the match just tried to destroy property. And
Sure,
by checking that, I find
mine
out that
would
there
be
was.
English hooligans immediately. Like, my mind would directly go to English hooligans, because I used to
No,
work.
I was most likely talking about the population in France, but
Okay, but
because that was that's what they're accused of all the time.
But it doesn't
But
matter
yeah, I
what
can
our
see
mind
that
goes to.
that's not a scientific way.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
doesn't
I can
matter.
see that that's not
Yeah,
a scientific way
yeah,
to prove
yeah.
it.
Okay, so
But yeah,
let's maybe talk about the prejudices and the reality behind them and the statistics. And I mean, I think we will agree on most of them. I'm not going to sit here and say that uh, foreigners or immigrants are committing less crime or not. Like, I would never suggest that. I think that the data on that is pretty clear. I think that
yeah. Can I
immigrants,
talk about?
of course,
Can I think? Can I tell you something about?
sure.
Because it's the objective, the fact that they are more foreigner in French prisons than actual French people, and things like that. These are objective. You can check them in one Google search. But I have
I mean, I don't
this.
know about that specific fact, but I know that the statistics are showing that foreigners are
For
more.
sure, the one I know for sure is that by proportions for of the number of immigrants, there are way more of them in prison by proportion, like by percentage of the population, for example. And I
Disproportionately.
have an yeah, disproportionately more in prisons, and
Mhm.
I have a theory why. And the thing is that I cannot check it, but if it just checks out by simple logic, you can agree with me or not. You can tell me your
Sure,
opinion on this,
sure.
because
Let's go.
to go to a foreign country, to leave, for example, you're a 17, 18-year-old man, which is basically the average man who travels from North Africa or from Middle East to Europe. It's even younger or a little bit older, but it's usually young men, right? And as a young man, there are a lot of young men in these countries, and they do not commit such crime. For example, the crime rate in Tunisia would be less than the crime rate in France. And how come that these people that are from Tunisia, Algeria, Morocco, and all these countries, they commit more crime once they reach Europe? And the thing is that not only the rules are different, and that accounts for a lot of it, but the fact that these people who could leave their country at such a young age to adventure in a such competitive, new, hard place, it takes a special kind of men who have in common with them a lot of risk taking. For example, high testosterone, you can name it whatever you want to take it. It's people who have a lot of qualities that sadly correlates with whatever causes crime. You see my point?
I would like to. I see your point, but I think that you missed the most important one, which is that you're looking at Tunisia. When you look at the crime rate in that age group, you look at the whole population. And if you look at the Tunisians that go to France, you only look at the Tunisians that went to France that left their country because they had nothing there that would was worth staying for. So if
That's
you
not true. That's not true. It costs a lot to go to France. It costs a lot. People who end up there have already gathered enough money that could solve a lot of problems if they wanted to stay. The people
Mhm.
who leave, they leave. I don't know. I don't believe, by the way, I don't believe this point that
Okay,
the
wait,
poorest one.
wait.
There are a lot of
Sure. I get your point, but I can tell you from. I mean, it might not be true from for Tunisia. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I don't think so. To be honest, we can check it out if you want. But for example, I can tell you 100% from Turkey. For example, I can tell you that the people that left in the 60s to come to Germany were the ones that were not educated, that didn't have good jobs, that didn't have a high
that,
status in society,
that's the same.
that
That's the same in Tunisia. I'm talking about
okay
the
okay
people who are
then
living in the
okay
area.
okay then we can say that in Tunisia also the people that left are disproportionately poor, disproportionately
True.
disproportionately uneducated. And if you account for this poverty, and if you account for this, I can tell you, for example, like a lot of differences are being made between Turkish people here in Germany and Turkish people in Turkey. And for most of the differences between Turkish people in Turkey and Turkish people in Germany, uh, poverty and education accounts for all of these differences. So they're not acting differently in Germany than they act in Turkey. It's just a cut out of the demographic, a different cut from the different demographic that you're looking at. And if you look at that same demographic in that country, in Tunisia, for example, I could imagine these numbers would look way different.
It counts. It definitely accounts for it. It definitely does. But the people who are causing the trouble, that I'm talking about right now specifically are the ones who are leaving the country in the not in the 60s, not the earliest generations, but the ones that are leaving now. It takes a lot of money, a lot of resources, a lot of planning. Also, they have to get the like some people just go there with a visa, then they change the purpose or something like this. So it's not only just by boats as they used to. There are still some of these that get sent back, but I'm saying that whatever population ended up in Europe, that's the population that has genetically or culturally more incentive or more how to say more inclined to risk-taking activities, which is a good thing if you put it in business and in working. But then it also correlates with people who just don't obey the laws. That's what I'm saying. And if you put back these same people, also this is a contrast. I'm by no means trying to insult like Germans or European populations,
No
but
problem.
there is this self-control. For example, if I know a crazy Tunisian guy who's behaving crazy in our city, and he's bothering like my sisters, my cousins, or whatever, there is a man-to-man check that does not necessarily exist in places like Europe, because you call the police, and this creates the the constant tension between like immigrants and police. But these immigrants, have they had been in their countries, they would have been regulated by other means other than police. Like they would be socially held. So when
Hmm.
they appear in Europe, they are socially inhibited because there is
Hmm.
no grandfather or grandmother. Because you see the guy who kills people in I'm no I'm who deletes people. I'm sorry if I used the wrong word there.
Don't worry about it. Just
Who
use whatever word you want. We don't care here about that. Just say kill.
Okay,
You can
if
say it.
someone just commits like horrendous crimes in Germany, the same guy would have his mother just yell at him from the window, and will he crawl back like a baby. And this is a phenomenon that not a lot of Europeans are familiar with, but that's really a cultural point where someone who has been controlled by his parents his whole life suddenly ends up without them, and well, then he ends up dealing with the police, and that does not end badly. But you see the how the cultural differences of how he grew up can affect what he's gonna do in the next country,
Mhm.
combined with all the other factors that you said about. Because I agree too that being poor and not knowing the language, you are at a significant disadvantage of just starting an honest life and gaining money honestly. That's gonna be very, very hard for someone
And
who
not
doesn't have a
only
lot of money to begin with.
yes, and not only that, it's also like in general being poor and coming from a low like middle to lower class. It just there is just more violence there. If you grow up in a poor neighborhood, you're just way more likely to experience violence and way more likely to have to execute violence as well, compared to someone who's living in a more upper class society who's not that much in touch with violence. Um, at least not from violence that is on the streets. Maybe from violence at home, maybe from the parents, but not really the the dangers of poor neighborhoods. I think are pretty obvious. But I think like the points that you're making, I mean I guess like testosterone risk taking. I haven't seen any studies on that, so I would really like to see it. I mean, I guess it would, but I think the
No,
just
I told you, I didn't research it like to be
sure,
objective, but I'm saying if
sure,
it doesn't make sense to you, just tell me. But I think
sure. No, it does make it's
it's
not
making
that it does make sense, but that doesn't really like I would not be shocked if that's the case. But I think I am familiar with the with some statistics that explain discrepancies between foreigners in their home country, their behavior, and foreigners in their host country, their behavior. These discrepancies are pretty much a lot of them are covered by just by poverty and education. So um, and then at the same time, like there is even more gross mistakes are being made when we compare these two numbers. Like even when we compare, for example, the local numbers, when we look at, for example, crime rates from foreigners versus crime rates from Germans or Russians or whatever, mostly these are being done indiscriminate of age, which is I think a big problem. Like a lot of them that I see, that's a huge issue. Like if you look at the statistics, young men between the ages I think 17 to 30 is like so much higher in crime than all of the rest of society. Like it's basically like most of the crime is being committed by that demographic. I can't tell you for sure about the exact age, but it's young men who are committing crimes. And most I think most criminals stop being criminals at some point in their life, in their mid 30s, and most crime is being committed by young people. That's at
Yeah,
least what
but
the
then that's
statistics
not
say.
something
But
you
then
want to. No, it is true.
but wait,
It
wait,
is
wait,
true.
wait, 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 wait. But then you have like a statistic that says, look, foreigners are more criminal uh than the ethnic people in that country. But it's okay if you say, okay, we don't want to import more young people because they're more prone to violence. But if you make the inference that it's because of their ethnicity, then that's a wrong inference, right? Because you haven't accounted for the age difference between the local
Yeah.
population and the immigrated population. Would you agree that that's a
Okay,
mistake as
but if
well?
you it is definitely a mistake to
Yeah.
compare the an 18-year-old Tunisian to a 70-year-old German, for example. That is definitely not fair. But I can suggest a more interesting comparison, which is between the immigrants that do commit the crime and immigrants who do not commit the crime. Like between as myself, for example, as an immigrant who lives here without violating any rules, and my fellow countrymen who do violate the rules. And I know this is not what you're expecting, but the or maybe it is. But do you know why I think I do commit less crime than them, or I'm more inclined to? It's not that I would
You
commit,
want me
but
to
I
guess?
have less incentive.
Yeah, I mean, you
Yeah,
come from a rich family. You already said so. I would say that statistically, that's the biggest. That's the
yeah.
biggest.
I said upper middle class, and I was talking about the whole big family. My parents, like specifically, like no, I had to work in Russia
No,
during
I'm
my
not saying,
studies, so it's
but
not.
just statistically, that would make you the least like that would be a high predictor of. If I would have 10 Tunisians, and if I would know
Yeah.
their class in their home country, like that would be a really good predictor for who's going to be violent and who's going to be a criminal, right? So
I can give you another perspective, which is more related to my
okay,
channel. But if you don't do not like it, you can stop me at
no,
any time.
I
I
you
don't
just
blame
go
you.
ahead. No, no, you can also talk about inceldom if you
So
want. It should just not. I would just still like to talk about the
I won't take it there. I won't take it there. I will just say
sure.
like this: I am taller than average, estimated by other people that I am more than the average attractiveness, and I'm pretty good with languages. So when I came here, I already spoke good English, and it took me a relatively easier time to learn Russian. So in my first year, I would already have Russian friends who I play football with, and I had Russian girlfriends, so I got integrated really fast. Okay, due to these advantages that I just listed, you understand. The average Tunisian guy can stay for 10 years in Russia and not learn the language just by lack of interactions with local Russians. And it was said by Andrew Tate, and it made so much point because it makes so much sense because I imagined all my friends who struggle more in their day-to-day life, making friends, dating life, and he said these people do not speak the language and they do not have money, at least compared to what these people have. Because even if you have money in Tunisia, you go to Germany and suddenly you don't have money because, it's just more money in Germany anyway. So the currency is just stronger and people are richer. So you'd imagine you, as the average Tunisian guy, you probably had five, six close friends. You had one or two girlfriends in your life, and now you're 18 and you decide to come to Germany, and it's complete loneliness. I see them all the time complaining, the memes on Facebook, all the people I know who are in Europe, they are lonely, most of them. There is I would say like 90% of the people I know who live in Europe, in the West, in the US, they are lonely. So I do not say they do commit crime. I do not say anything like that. I cannot conclude that. I'm just saying that they are completely lonely. And now I'm gonna speculate a bit. When you are completely lonely for long years, you start to care less about the consequences of the crime. And I'm just gonna leave it there. You can comment on it.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, it definitely helps. I mean, the one thing you mentioned a few advantages that you had. I think that's how you started to talk. So I think like the one advantage that you mentioned was that you were able to talk the language. I think that also to a certain extent comes from of obviously from IQ, uh, which is an advantage separate from wealth. But without the wealth, it's also difficult to get the education. I
If you
think
have high IQ, if you have high IQ and no one talks to
high
you, you
enough
don't get to
IQ.
practice.
Uh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Wait,
no,
let me
in
finish. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'll get there. So then attractiveness you mentioned, which is obviously a bonus for socializing a little bit. I don't think it's that. I feel like it's overblown, and especially in the incel communities, it's very overblown. I know a lot of very ugly people that have a lot of friends. Um, but and then wait, what was the last thing that you mentioned? Ah, yeah, you said
that
loneliness.
loneliness.
Loneliness leads to crime. Yeah, I mean, one thing that I learned pretty early is like I think labeling theory is one of the most proven sociological concepts uh, ever. Like it has been proven countless times, and just the idea that like basically two things. So one thing is that which is basically two sides of the same coin. So if you are being labeled, so the biggest reason why you don't commit a crime is social judgment. So you don't want to be socially ostracized, and at the same time, if you are being socially ostracized, this motivation goes away, and you're way more likely to commit crimes. And you can call it law of, I mean, in right wing circles people call it, or in not right wing but in more spiritual right wing, maybe liberal libertarian circles, they call it law of attraction. So if you have like positive sayings about something, then you will attract positivity. But the same thing also works for negative, and it also works from other people to you. So if somebody constantly tells you that or suggests that you are a criminal, there is basically no incentive to not be a criminal. Like not no incentive, but the incentives are lowered quite significantly. I think that's a big one as well, and that thing is also being determined a lot by wealth as well, because somebody that, I mean, look at, for example, you can imagine a Tunisian who's like really rich, who comes into Russia and gets no prejudice at all, right? Who is not being like, maybe some prejudice, but not the same as somebody who's like in very cheap clothes and without a watch and without anything that shows that he has money, right? That's like completely two completely different worlds. And it might even be that he's being treated way better than the poor Russian guy, right? So
Yeah,
I think, yeah, I think that wealth is like a huge predictor for crime. I think it's just really obvious. So and all of the other things I think are they're there. I agree, but they're not that big. I think. Um, yeah.
okay, I might add another one that you might have never thought about, but it's quite interesting. And it is comes in a Tunisian saying where it says like in the place where you don't know the people, you can just like lower your pants and take a shit there. And it comes well, it just means that when you know no one there and no one is going to remember you, you can just do the worst things, which is not an advice. We're just like it's just a saying that goes that way. So when you say social prejudice and you are afraid of judgment, when it's the place you were born in and you knew as a kid, like you were born in Germany and grew up in Germany, so committing crime in Germany will feels like it's gonna stay with you for your whole life. Even if you left Germany, you feel like, for example, you can never come back there safely, or something has changed in you. But if it's a territory that is not uncharted because you have lived there, for example, you travel to another country and you're back against the wall, you want to or you have to commit a crime. I don't know what's the situation. You can just say like, okay, worst case scenario, I get deported, I go back to what I was, or it doesn't really matter. These are not my people anyway. You see, that's the kind of it's not good logic. I'm just saying that's what the kind of cope you can get while committing crime because okay, I have been labeled as like someone who's like brown or you have been not good to me. If I'm being bad to you, you are another population. It's the same thing happens in, for example, as a Tunisian who wants to open a business in Africa, in like southern and low and black Africa. If you get scammed, it's a victory for them because it was done over the whites of Africa. So some you see the prejudice like this, and this is a factor that, well, it's impossible to measure, let's face it, but it's also there. So you cannot say being only afraid of social that social pressure prevents you from committing crime. Well, it is way more effective in the place you grew up in than the place you explored as an adult. You
Oh
see the
yeah,
point?
but that's my point as well. Yeah, yeah, I agree 100%. It's in both ways it's more effective. First, because the social pressure is only there if you have basically some face to lose, right? If you don't have a face to
Yeah.
lose, then then there is no incentive, right? So that's one thing. And the other thing is that I mean that's your argument. I'm not so sure about it because I feel like the at least the people that I know that come from other countries, they come there in a all or nothing sense. It's not like they're like they have money and they say, okay, no, if it doesn't work, I just go somewhere else. Blah blah. It's not they're not like a backpacker going through Europe. You know, like they're mostly they have put everything into coming to this one country, and that's their shot to success basically. And I don't agree with this. Like at least at
Back
least
to
wait
wall. I said
wait
back to
wait
wall.
wait at least from just from this idea that you're I think you are propagating a little bit is that this idea of yeah if it doesn't work out then I just go to a different country. I don't think that's really accurate. I think that most people took a pretty big risk as you've said also like they took huge
I'm not saying I use the expression "you're back to a wall." I did not say someone who's just living a regular life, thinking if it doesn't work here, I will go to another place. I am saying when it's the last second before committing crime. I know this is a crazy idea, but if you thought what happens in the mind of someone who is about to commit a crime, and or
wait
the
but back
police
to
just
wall
catches
suggests
them.
that there is no decision, right?
Yeah, I mean, no decision can do in how to say, in succeeding in Europe. Like you came to Europe, you wanted to do something, you ended up in not a good situation. You were
Sure,
years of being lonely. You
sure.
were. I don't want to say. I
No,
don't
what's
want
the
to say
difference
someone
between
cornered.
what's the difference between someone who's in Germany backed into a corner and in Tunisia backed into a corner?
Because
Couldn't
in Tunisia in Tunisia backed into a corner and you commit the right crime, you get the right uh punishment, which is
sure,
like let's say you go to
but that's
prison,
a
right?
different point.
But there is
Wait, but that's a completely different point. This point is now that the punishment in Tunisia is harsher. The point that you made before was that in case that things go wrong in this country, I can just change my country because it's not my home country. I don't care. That was your
you can
point.
get you can get deported. You can get deported, for example.
Yeah,
Or
but the
let's say
idea
something.
was
It's not
it's not
military.
my home
It's not
country, so I
military.
can shit. That was the point, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I don't
Okay,
see.
this, for example, you can come to someone and say like, okay, this practice ruins the country's economy. Okay, this is not a crime. This is just a financial choice. And you say like, okay, I don't care. For example, I will not pay taxes because it's the German government, and I don't care because it's not me. They didn't pay for my development, for example.
Sure,
And if I can evade taxes, I will because I will be robbing off white people. And I hear people talk like this. I'm not making this up.
sure. So,
So
but I,
if it,
again, that's I think that's again a different point. That is the point of being emotionally attached to the country, and not the idea of or to have a social cohesion, feeling of social cohesion, to feeling of being part of a society and caring for society. Basically, that's a completely different point than saying because it's not my home country, I can just switch it. And I don't think that there the idea is I can just start over somebody somewhere else. That's not the idea.
okay,
But we can get to we can
you
get
can verify it by
but
war.
that's an
By war.
interesting point.
Would you go to war for Germany? Would you go
But yeah,
to war for
that's
Germany?
a different point where we can talk about that. But you just have to agree that it's a slightly different point. It's quite significantly different point, right? But we can talk about
I
that
don't
about
say
the so
significant. It is on a spectrum. It is on a
but
spectrum because would you go to a war for a country? That will be the biggest sacrifice for a country, right?
sure, but sacrificing and just thinking, I can just change the country if I fuck up here, like basically having a second chance here. That's two different things, right? completely different things.
Yeah,
And social
but
cohesion
as
and
someone, if you were born to Germany, you grew up in Germany, so you don't even have that discussion come up. Like, this is your hometown, and you don't have. Well, there is, by the way, someone who debates this. For example, you might feel some connection to, for example, the country of origin of your parents, but let's just ignore that for a moment. Germany is your back. For example, I do not want to live in Tunisia. I enjoy living in Russia. I love everything about Russia. It is one of the greatest places for me to live in, okay? But if I get, for example, in a very unfair treatment in Russia, or something really bad happens to me, I will be thinking about just going to the airport or trying to run to Tunisia any way or another. And I haven't have that thought yet. I'm just saying it might come up as it is an exist.
yeah,
I'm
but
not saying
because
I can go to Europe later, but
because
it
you have the
exists as an
financial
option.
means to do so. And I say that most immigrants don't have the financial means to do so. So most immigrants,
Okay,
especially
and
if they're backed in wait, if they're backed in a corner, and if they're like they don't have these, they don't think about, okay, then I can just go somewhere else. It's not like, it's like, I don't think it's that easy. But we can talk about the
okay,
social
well,
cohesion. We can talk about the social
go ahead,
cohesion
go ahead.
aspect, which I think is an interesting point, and I think is definitely a challenge of immigration. There, I would definitely agree. But I think that currently our societies, and especially the anti-immigration right-wing part, and also a part of the immigrants that are already here, are doing everything in their power to make this social and national cohesion worse and worse and worse and worse. Um, how maybe, since, just as an addition to what we've talked before, I said that you don't have special access to the issue of immigration in general. Now I might feel like you might even have, and then we talked about objectivity as well, and I really don't want to attack you or something, but now I feel like you even have like a less access to it, because you have experienced immigration, but through the lens of privilege, and through the lens of like through a different lens that 99% of immigrants probably didn't live through, right? So 99% of immigrants that came from wherever in the world did not come to a white country like you did. So would you agree?
If you if you base it only on my sole experience, the fact that it was more or less successful, then I do not relate. But then it is, let's say, a wiser man who at least tries to learn from the mistakes of others. And since I have, I told you, the majority, not even the how to say it, like 80-90% of people I grew up with or in my family ended up in European countries, and the one who didn't are trying to there. And by comparison, by talking to them, by learning with them, by seeing how the people who came with me who got deported back to their countries, how they feel, how they talk about Russians or Russia or their relationship with Russia, that is the point I have. If my personal experience was successful, it is the same point you can make in dating. For example, if you have a successful dating life, how would you advise someone who doesn't have one because you cannot relate? But then it's the same way a doctor treats someone who has a disease that the doctor never got. It's when you learn about something, when you spend a lot of time. I watch a lot of Russian politics, French politics, especially the right wing. I find it not only like interesting and they strike some points and then I hear a lot of great rebuttals, but it's purely entertaining. And I think you can agree that the European fight over immigration is entertaining to watch, to say the least, right?
I hate it.
And
I hate it so much. I don't. I hate watching it. I hate hearing about it. I hate even to a certain extent hate talking about it. Although I do it for fun now, but there is a lot of disgust that also comes with it. But what I didn't want to say that you don't understand what you don't know what you're talking about. I definitely don't want to say that. I'm pretty sure that you're educated in outside of just your personal experience. You educate yourself, and you read, and you do all of the stuff. But I just mean that your personal experience as an immigrant, that uh, has a situation that is so drastically different in the conversation that we've had so far, seems to shade all of the way that you you judge other immigrants. So when you say that one big reason for them being criminals is that they think, yeah, if it doesn't work here, I can just go to the next country, and if it doesn't work
Okay,
here,
uh,
then
listen,
this is because I think this is because you have this option, but I think that most people don't have this option.
okay, I can concede that maybe not a lot of people, not as many people as I think have that option. But again, to discredit my, let me just tell you why I got interested in this specific subject to begin with. Maybe you can see where I'm coming from. Okay, it happened to a guy who I grew up with, who I know on a very close personal level, who started committing a lot of crime in Tunisia, in our hometown. So he was like selling drugs and doing a high level crime stuff. And he got lucky, like the first few times he got arrested. And do you know what the solution that his family and some older guy in the town, like the wise guy in the town, do you know what their solution was to him? This is a real story. They gathered money, and a big sum of money, like up more than 10,000 euros, which is very hard to do in Tunisia. And they sent him to Italy. In Italy, they had a lawyer already ready to just do the documents for him, and he was within the first month in Italy already legally residing there. And I was shocked at first. It happened 2 years ago, and that's what got me into watching all the. Well, I know the French language. I don't know the Italian one, but then France has a bigger problem, and I started watching, learning, seeing the statistics, actually answering the first basic question, which is, I would like to ask you this question: why do you think? Because I know why immigration would want to go to Europe. It's for their personal benefits. But why do Europe allow immigrants? I want to hear from you. What do you think the real reason is? Not the official, nothing. Why? And now, not because 60 years ago it was because they needed workers, cheap labor. That's very obvious. But why do you think now Europe is accepting foreigners, immigrants? I'm interested in seeing your point here.
I mean, I think it's pretty obvious that we don't want to suffer the same fate as Japan demographically. It's needed that we have population below a certain age. And right now, I think I'm not sure what the median age is in Germany. I think it's about mid 40s, something like that. And
Too high, too high.
too high. What's the real? Ah, no, you say too high. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Then I
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. Yeah. So it's obviously we don't want to have the same problems as other countries have, like China and like Japan, that have not done immigration and who suffer
so we
from
both
low birth
agree.
rates.
So we both agree. So we both agree that immigration is needed. It's not a luxury.
Yes.
It's needed.
No. 100%.
Yeah, yeah, we agree on that. You
Yes.
see, I do not believe in the narrative that they just come for the benefit gains and we are letting them. I do not believe that narrative from the extreme right. I think that immigrations is happening because European countries need immigrants. They needed them before to fix the work and to have more taxes. Now they need them for more taxes and youthful population that will,
Hmm.
to fix the problem. But I admit that, for example, as someone from you call yourself left, I agree that immigration is definitely needed. What I don't think is okay is the fact that, wait a second. I'll just use the analogy. When you have a problem in your life and you can do the hard work, the delayed gratification effect, when you have discipline and do the hard stuff, you benefit from it. But when you do the quick solution, the quick fix, you are the one who's going to suffer the consequences later. The delayed consequences, you're going to suffer them. In politics, that's not how it works. In politics, they make decisions and the later generations will suffer the consequences, right? And I think the quick fix of immigration that European politics are applying right now, the bring more immigrants less discriminately, do not deport, less deportation, or easier access to nationality to make your situation legal. All these measures, they will have eventually in effect, which a lot of European right wings call it the the big replacement, right? That's the main concern. And that is something that has been decided in the last 10 years to bring in more people, but the consequences are going to be there in the next decades. And here's the thing, I am completely away from this because I don't think it's bad that the big replacement is happening. I don't know if you believe it is there or not. I will first have to hear if you think it is a legitimate
you're
theory or it's
you're
not.
you're jumping to many topics. Okay, I don't like the idea of big replacement. I think is that there is an intentional wish to swap out the indigenous population for non-indigenous population. I definitely disagree that this is the plan, or this somebody wishes for that. The It's way more easy. It's 200. I think in Germany it was we need every year 200,000 people that come into the country just for our regular system to continue to work and for our economy not to start collapsing. So that's just a very immediate short-term necessity that is currently there. And if the Germans don't start making babies in a rate that is higher than two, then this will have to go on. So that's just a fact, and
Okay,
the numbers will even increase. And the idea of great
my
replacement,
question.
there is so many things that are attached to this idea of intentionality and planning, from conspiracy theories. It can go up to like so many different levels. So that's why I think this term is a little bit dangerous to use like that, because it's just not sure what is
No,
being
I,
meant by that.
I do not think, I do not, when I said it, I did not, I don't know if I have to make sure of this. I did not mean in any way or shape or form that it is intentional or
Mm-hmm.
planned. I'm just saying if you need to bring 200,000 people, and these people happen to be the most fertile people on earth after the Black Africans, because the Middle Eastern ethnic people who come up to Europe, their birth rate is superior to the birth rate they had in their original country.
Mm-hmm.
So the big replacement is an eventuality. It's not the fact that it's intentional or not.
Yeah,
Just
but
by having
replacement,
low.
I feel like replacement insinuates that there is an action going on that is being done by an outside force,
Okay,
right?
let's just say there is less and less white people, and there is more and more non-white people.
Yeah,
And
and
I, I
I
I'm
also
not
feel
saying
like
that
I
some.
disagree with that, because I feel like the moment that there is mixed race people, and that's also being counted, like the problem that I have a little bit with this great replacement stuff is that there is this idea of I don't know how you call it, but this idea of once somebody is being mixed. So if I am of Turkish descent or Kurdish descent or whatever, and I mix with a German woman, and we get a child, that this child all of a sudden is not German anymore. Like this child is just as German as it is Middle Eastern, right? So the existing Germans, if they uh, breed with the foreigners, they're not disappearing. They're just disappearing if they don't make babies.
But the I am not the one worried about Germans disappearing. You see,
Sure,
if Germany tomorrow is filled with Turkish people, I love Turkish people. I have no problem
but
with them.
I
If
know I know that, but my problem is not, I'm not arguing against you. I'm arguing against this term of great replacement, because part of German, because when you equate Germans not being there anymore with the word great replacement, then I feel like you're not accounting for all of the Germans that are still in the mixed children. Like they're mixed. They're so like, for example, if the right wing parties right now say that there is no more Germans in schools, or there is there is no more Germans, not enough Germans, they're not accounting for all the mixed people that are also German, right?
okay,
Uh,
you
that's my
can
issue.
argue that that is let's say very derogatory to these
No,
children
it's not
because
derogatory.
of
It's
how
just
you
wrong.
mentioned.
No, no, it's not derogatory.
Okay,
It's wrong. It's just factually wrong. It's saying replacement, even though they are still there, is just wrong.
in the subjective opinion of some right wing extremists, the child who has the drop of blood that is not pure white, maybe he's not white anymore. I don't know. I don't argue for these people. You see, I'm not an extreme right. person from Europe. What
Sure,
I'm
I
saying
know,
is
but
that these are the
you
people.
asked me if great
These are the
replacement,
people who are.
if I believe in great replacement, and I just gave you a few, I think, good arguments
Can I
why it's not a good term. Sure.
then I will just rephrase it. Do you believe that if Germany do not bring more, and you already answered, so I know the answer. If
Mhm.
Germany do not bring more people, it will just disappear by in like 100 or 200 years.
Mhm.
Okay, and so the immigration is needed, and why is it so? Because the fertility rate in Germany is low, and if I was a government and I cared about my country, which let's face it, I don't want to open the philosophical argument that governments are not there
Please
for the
open
benefits
it.
of the people, but let's say I mean, if I had the good of Germany, let's say I was German and I love Germany and I want Germany to persist, I want the cultural values of Germany to just persist. The first thing I will be considered to fix, concerned to fix, is the birth rate, the low fertility rate of German women. That's the problem I will be looking at, and that is closer to my area of expertise. By the way, that's what I study. That's what I focus on more. And I think after
Your area
I
of
can I
expertise
can get
is fertility of German women?
and I said it that's something I spent way more time studying. Let's put it that way.
Sure. Tell us
And
about it. Tell me about it.
so okay, so I'm glad that you're interested in this point. So I believe that it all started when and I know that you will feel tempted to interrupt me, but let me finish this
Sure.
sequence, okay?
Sure.
uh, the government's goal is always to have more taxes, because there are certain people who benefit when the majority of people pours in more taxes, and the most logical thing to do was to make women work, because that will just easily just double down on the workforce, and also it will create a lot of jobs like nursing, and women will have to put their kids in childcare, they will have to hire someone else to take care of the children, and it is just a lot of more money to the government. And now that we have women who are working, we go back to the dating and seldom whatever subjects, and it becomes the advantage that a man could have as someone who's providing for a family becomes less and less relevant, because a lot of women just can make their own money, and these are known, like these are. I don't think you have so far any disagreement with me, right?
I do.
So
Because
okay, go ahead.
you insinuate basically that women work because the government wants the woman to work. And I think that's historically just pretty wrong.
No,
Uh, because I
women
think
can
it's
only work in
I think it's pretty obvious why women work. I think it has started once women have always worked. Just as a side note, like women
yeah,
have always worked, maybe not in the
yeah,
economy
yeah.
workplace, but they worked at home. And the moment that industrialization came along, and all of a sudden, like I can give you the example of Germany. So firstly, before being a mother in a household was a full-time job, so you didn't even have any time to do anything else. I mean, you're from I don't know if North Africa is it called is it considered the Middle East? I always feel like it is the Middle East, but
It is just North Africa.
okay, it's just not Africa. But I guess you also have seen probably a rural area in North Africa, and the still like being a woman and keeping a household, even though there is some technology there and stuff like that, is still a bigger job than it is currently with washing machine and all of this other gears. But then
Okay,
the actual point when women started working was when industrialization made it possible that the tasks that before required a lot of muscle work were now not requiring muscle work anymore, and now women
of
were able to
course,
work.
of course,
So it's
of
not
course,
like
no
the
one.
government. It's not like the government was sitting there thinking, how can we make
Uh,
women work? It's like
it,
women
wa-
have
it was not the way I intended it. What I meant is,
okay.
now that we have a safe society, now that we have a safe
But
society,
why
now
did you
that
talk about
we have
taxes?
an
Why did you talk about the government? You prefaced everything by saying the government always wants more taxes. So women working brings it
yeah,
more taxes, and then you said
yeah,
and
but
then women started working. And
it
I
was
feel like all
implied.
of that
It was
implies
implied.
that the state has made it such that women can work.
okay, it is implied that women can only work in a society that is already established this well, where we have industrializ in where we have actually get rid of all the muscle job and women now can work and produce the same as men. Now, of course, it was implied that only then the government can look at them and incite them to work, because I know it's
But
not
the
easy
government
to
doesn't do
prove, but
that.
there have been
It
a
just
lot.
happens.
There have been in the media and stuff in the 80s or 70s, or I can't tell the exact period of time, where there was how to say this, a glorification of women like being independent, which is the wave of feminism. So the wave of feminism through media has incentivized women to work, even the women who could but didn't want to,
You
or
believe that?
women who did like some side jobs, some she could take rid of some tasks, something. Now she is forced, no, not forced, but well, to provide for herself, she's forced to work not such a glamorous job, like starting level jobs. So
You
you
think
get
that
the
that's
point,
how
right?
it started? Not really, because you think that's how it started. That the government started putting up ads, and then women started working, saying because,
No, not
for
not
example,
not not at.
I can tell
Do you
you,
know
I can tell
how
you, for example,
okay.
in Germany, how a lot of women working started, as far as I know, is that during the war period, like even though we already had industrialization, women working was pretty not that frequent, especially not in factory jobs. They were working as secretaries and stuff like that, and like not muscle necessitating jobs. But for example, in factories, the way it was that is that in war period, when all the men were in at war, women were put in the factories to continue to create ammunition and stuff like that. And then after the war stopped, basically the factory owners figured out, hey, we can even pay them less, and they can still do the job. And basically that was all also huge bump up. So it's not like it's just at some point started, but it was gradually like the more capable, the more possible it was for women to work, the more women worked. So
Okay, okay. Then let's say whatever made women work, they now work. You at least you
sure.
agree with that, that now they
Yeah,
work.
I
Okay.
agree 100%.
No, okay. So because whether there was some evil plan or it was just the how we evolved, for example, there is this book that talks that every society ends like every organism ends by a society that thrives so much that it starts to cater to women needs, and that's how it starts rolling down. So now that women work because the society allows us to have women work, women are not interested in the financial abilities of a man. And other factors such as physical attractiveness and social status has taken more place into the dating world. And since the disappearance of religion also combined, sorry, these are a lot of subjects. I'm just trying to get to a point, right?
Sure.
Now
But I
women are
guess
not
that's
interested.
wait,
Now
do you want
women,
me to interject if I disagree? If I think that something's factually wrong?
if you just hear my last point,
I'm
if
not sure if
because
it
whether
matters.
yeah, okay, so I'll just start the point by the end just so
Sure.
you can understand what I'm trying to get at. Okay,
Sure.
the thing is that since women are not interested in their an average woman is not interested in the average man. For example, a woman is not interested in the guy who would have matched with her like hundreds of years ago, and we have the dynamics where there is no incentive for monogamy. We do not have children. The dating market is all skewed, and we have less children. And if I had a problem to fix, that will be the problem to fix. Even if immigration is a quick solution for 5, 10 years, if I do not fix the childbirth situation, we will just have the population from the south just all move up to the top and start another cycle of problems. So now you can see where I'm trying to get at with this.
Sure, but I disagree 100%. Like I think that there's really a lot of points that are completely wrong. I mean, the first one that I disagree with 100% is that uh, just as a general, I'll just go through them. I mean, the the idea that women are not interested in men that are high, they still, even though this dynamic is going away more and more, still it is the case that women are interested in all of these old attributes that were prevalent before women were able stop working started working. So it's still like statistically, if you look at it, it's still that women mostly look for someone who's earning more money, still looking for someone who's more intelligent, and that this also supersedes like looks by a lot. And this is just statistically proven. I mean, you can
Can I
just.
interject
I
here on
mean,
this point? I
sure,
will not
but
debate
sure,
on the
but
importance.
there is other points that I
One
want to
second.
get to as well. Sure.
Yeah, just this specific point because I don't want to like argue about the importance of looks. You have that a lot of videos I have
Yeah,
seen in the past. I'm not gonna argue about the importance of looks. I'm just saying that even if what you're saying is true and women are interesting in men who are making more money than them anyway, but women they are very very advantaged in like going to college. By
that's a
statistics, they're
different
going to
point.
college
Please, that's
more.
a completely different point. That's a completely different point.
Okay, and even at a job, an 18-year-old man and an 18-year-old woman who both apply at the same job, the 18-year-old woman is at her peak. The 18-year-old man is nothing. He has nothing going for him. So even by the
That's
starting
also a
point, the
different point.
woman who is they both contribute to the fact that even if the women are interested in men who make more than them, most men do not make more than most women. So even then you have women who are not interested in men. So even if they start at the
Sure,
same level, the woman is going to make more money, and
but
then she's not interested in that guy, she's interested in the guy who is better than her. And if every woman is interested in the guy that is better than her, you can see where that goes.
but
So
but that's
it is back to the point.
but that's
Even
a
if we get
completely
even
different point.
even if we
That's
get
a
looks
that's a
even if we get looks out of
that's true, but for a different reason. And I agree with you on that point. But that's a completely different reason. You have said that because that the women are working now, these aspects are not important anymore, and I disagree with that, and that still holds, right?
okay, you can agree that they are
But
less important.
yes, I, I agree that they're less important, but they're still not the deciding factor. When you look at the statistics, it's still mostly the old values that count. It's still mostly though, because I mean, okay, I'm pretty pedantic about like the statements that you make. So when you say that, and then I say, okay, that's not true because of that, and then you say, yeah, but it's true because of other reasons. We just move to another topic, and that's not so. So we will just get distracted and distracted. By the way, I agree with you that it is the case that uh, one of the reasons why so many men are not able to find a partner is because they are more and more difficulties to be more successful than most women. That was your point, right? But that proves my point that women are still looking for the old values in men, which is to be more successful, which was my original point.
Okay,
Do you agree?
but
Okay, wait, we
the
have to
end
go further.
the end
No, 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 no,
is
no.
that
I had to no wait. I had to wrap it all up and bring it back. So now I have to continue with your first thesis
go
that you
ahead,
put on.
go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And so then you say that the birth rate is due to so then you say, okay, men can't find partners, women don't find men attractive, therefore we have a low birth rate, right? That's basically the last part of your
Uh,
argument. That's what
there
you
is the
said.
fact that monogamy is not encouraged. That also is included. You cannot
Okay, but that's a
go. You can
different.
because
But wait,
no,
but that's not a problem. That would not be a problem. We could just impregnate all women with just 20% of the population of men, right?
but
So so
but
that
then
would not be
you create
necessary.
a lot of unmotivated men. You create a lot of unmotivated men. You
We
can
don't
see the
care. We
problem.
don't we don't care. We just want people, right? We just have to fix our demographic. We just have to fix our. That was the point that you were trying to make. You said you're an expert in trying to fix the birth rate,
If
the
if
fertility.
if if, every, if everything I said didn't matter, you wouldn't have had a lower. Then, how do you explain the low birth rate that you have, the low fertility rate that you have in Germany right now, or in or in the whole world, because it's
Wait,
dropping everywhere?
I can get to that, but do you agree that we would be able to impregnate women in the necessary amount in order to not suffer demographically just by women being impregnated by 20% of men?
I cannot agree even in
Wait,
theory
what?
because
This
the
is
fact
mathematics.
I because in the whole society is based on the fact that if you work as a man, or if you improve as a man, or anything you do as a man can get you a better or more women. So if you get rid of that incentive and you say like, okay, we allow these selection of men to impregnate all the women, then
No, no,
these men, the big chunk of men will know for sure that they have no chance, and then you have men who won't do anything. You see the point?
no. Why?
If
Why? You,
80%
you
of
just
men
put
are
them
not
in a
gonna
simulation.
participate,
You just give them a sex doll. You just put them in a simulation. Doesn't matter. We don't care about that. We just. I'm just asking you. The unmotivation
you're not
question is
telling me that you
completely
don't
different.
care about,
That's a completely
you want to
different
fix the
question.
birth rate. But you cannot want to fix the birth rate and at the same sentence tell me that you don't care about 80% of the male population. And so you want to fix the birth rate, but at the same time, you're gonna make the life worse for the majority of the population that works.
But
So
isn't that already
how
your
does that?
claim that that's how society is? Isn't that already isn't aren't you already saying that that's the case?
I am saying that it is this bad. What you're
Okay,
saying is
but
that
then
we
then it
must
can't be the reason.
encourage you want to encourage. You see what I'm saying is the reason I'm saying that now the a few men are enjoying the dating market and a lot
Yeah,
of women are competing for them.
yeah.
For example, just
Wait,
saying in
wait.
theory, if monogamy was forced, if monogamy was enforced by some power, right? If monogamy was enforced, the men who are playing this game, they will have to leave with one woman each, for example, in theory, right? And then we will have women, like in theory, if even that's how it works, having to go for lesser and lesser men. But that is not a realistic solution. But what you're going the other way and encouraging women to just procreate with the top 20%
I'm
of
not
men,
encouraging
saying like,
anyone.
okay,
You
yeah,
seem to think you
policy
seem
that
to
says,
think that my argument is I am a city builder in a simulation. That's not the case. I'm just
okay,
saying. Wait, wait,
you
man.
said,
You have to let me answer your stuff.
okay,
Okay.
go ahead, go ahead.
You are saying women don't find most men attractive, therefore low birth rate. That's what you said.
There,
And
there are
I'm
few
saying,
points in between you can
yeah,
argue.
but let's get into that.
You,
Let's get into that because if you say if that's your argument, if you say that most women find most men unattractive, therefore low birth rate, I can just say it is completely possible that women are being impregnated by just the ones that they find attractive, and we would still have a good birth rate. And you just have to
okay,
agree with that. That's just logically the truth. If that's a good
woman,
society, if that's a better society or not, if that's nice or not, if you like that, if that hurts your feeling or not, that's not important. That's all not important. Just
okay,
mathematically, logically, that's the case.
I
And
can
then
agree with that.
you can get into the steps that are missing, the links that you want to put there, that brings you from women find most men unattractive to low birth rate. Now you can go.
Okay, I can tell you why. Even if you impregnate women with the men that are participating in the game, even if you impregnate women like that, it will be one, or in the best case scenario, two children per woman, because you can check that.
Why?
Well, you can agree with this logically or not. In the traditional families where there was a man who was working and a woman who did like the chores at home, they had on the average more children than the women we have right now. They had like three, four, five. I don't know what the numbers, but significantly more. And the average was way above two. Now, in order to have the average above two, you need to have a lot of families or a lot of women in Germany that have three, four children. You cannot have each woman have one child and think that's gonna fix the
Why
problem.
is that
You
not
need to
possible
them to
with
have two
why is that not possible with one guy impregnating?
with the strategy. Yeah, yeah. This is why, because these women, once they have their first child and they have to jungle between working, because these are career women, and the child they have, they think it's not probably the best idea to have a second and a
Oh,
third one.
that's
Maybe they
interesting.
understand.
Yeah. Now we're getting somewhere. Now we're getting somewhere. So that's the real reason why they're not
It's a
making
fact.
children. That's the real reason. Now we're at the real reason why they're not making children, which is has nothing to do with them not liking men or liking men. It's about career, right? And that's the case if we are in a completely monogamous world or not. People in relationships choose not to get children because of career. So it has nothing to do
Okay.
with women not liking men, and that's all besides the point. That's not
Okay,
important.
so your next argument is even if a woman, even if they're in a couple, like in a family, they need two incomes to survive. That's your next argument, right? Because if I tell you why don't a man just work and a woman stays home with the children, you tell me that in this economy they need two salaries to survive. You agree with this
No, not
narrative, right?
necessarily. No, not necessarily. It's also culturally. It's also like what the woman wants from her life, in a sense. Like what culturally makes her feel like she has lived a fulfilled life. And I think that a lot of women in modern societies really get a lot of pleasure out of being independent, earning a lot of money, and creating a career for themselves. And that's part of it as well. And also, like, for men it's the same thing. Like, it used to be for men really important to have like an heir, and to have to leave something to the world, like something genetically, to leave something. And that also is reduced by quite a lot. Like, a lot of men are also not that motivated as they used to have a son or to have a daughter, or they, like, like, all of that's also in the past. So I think it's way more cultural than financial.
Okay, so you accepted that the fact that men and women would want children is something of the past. So it is something that has been culturally in, for example, it was the fashionable thing to do. It was what people would do, and now it's less the case. And
Yeah,
whatever
but
the reason is,
it might change again, but I'm not sure if that will happen. But it might also culturally revert back to the old way it was.
and
You would never
do you
know.
have a theory on that how would happen, or you just think through something you cannot know?
I mean, I think about romantic. Do you know about romanticism, like as a like literary period in, or also like a cultural period in Europe? It's like the going back to religion, and like going back to from this illumination of Kant, and like all of this scientification of everything, going back to a more spiritual and a more, yeah, that's where the
And
word
you would
romantic
think
comes
like
from. This could be
why?
this could obviously happen.
Okay, then let me then put it
And
this way.
just
Every
give me let
society
me
that
give you one more reason why I think this could happen, is that you could also work on making all of the things that people like make child getting children so much more easy for people with technology, that it just becomes something completely different than what it used to be, and all of the reasons why people don't make children right now could disappear with technology. That could also be a reason why it comes back.
I think making robot workers would like I don't know. It would be interesting to see. I can see like why you think like we both agree that it has to be some going back to religion or monogamy or some way for the mass majority of people to start creating families
Not
again.
monogamy at all. Like, there is so many examples of no, it monogamy is not really necessary for that. Like, not
Okay,
logically, and not like in any sense, it's not necessary. And not even every
okay,
every every man procreating is necessary for saving the birth rate. If I would be, and I already said that to another guest on the stream. If I would be an alien producer of human beings that just tries to produce the human beings in a row, I could just take all females and a select group of maybe 5 to 10% of men. And not even that, I think we could go way lower, like 1% of men, and be able to impregnate all women on the planet, right? That would just mathematically work, since a man can come every, like, depending on your stamina, quite a few times per
if
day.
he doesn't have realistically he doesn't have to fuck them. You can just take the sperm and just
Yes.
distribute it on all these women.
No,
That's it. So
I mean, just, yeah.
but every solution that is directed through that, we don't care who has the children, we just need more children. We like the people we who end up suffering is the majority of men. the ones that you can tell me again, you don't care about the feelings, but why these feelings are important is because that's how the members of society even participate in the society to begin with. Because if you have them completely demotivated like that, you don't have workers. So your only way to say, I can listen to you if you tell me that, okay, then we will have AI and robots and replace workers, then I can listen to this argument. But if you want to conserve humans as humans, which is then a lot of philosophical questions, then you will have to do something about it.
No,
Because,
wait. Yeah,
and this is to
okay.
finish up
Yeah.
I've just finished up the philosophical point because I believe that if a society reached a point where, for example, they don't like Japan, for example, or South Korea, the one that is going down the first, right? If they reached a point where they have so many points in their culture that do not allow childbirth, then when that culture disappears from the face of Earth, or quote unquote gets replaced by other people that they bring in as immigration, or they just disappear, then in theory they just deserve to disappear in some sort of way, because they chose culturally what's like, you wanted to decide what women feel like they want, they find more fulfillment in career, where women find more fulfillment in career, you allow that to happen, now you don't have children, and now you disappeared, and now there are other people who do not let women work, for example. You see the what you think is important.
Okay, a
You
few
get my point
things.
or not? Because
Yeah, I kind of get it, of course, but yeah. I mean, firstly, I do care about the men that are not procreating, and I do care about their feelings, and I think, and I am also, even though I disagree with you, I am not against monogamy. I'm actually in favor of. I think at the time, monogamy is like the best model that we have right now for relationships, and also for procreation, and for, yeah, for, it's a pretty good model, and it seems to work. And I know that this is a controversial thing to say in black pill circles, but monogamy is still, like, most people are still very monogamous, and most people still want to have one partner, and most people still have the dream of this one partner for life. It's just the case. You don't have to agree. I know that you disagree,
yeah,
but
I want
sure,
to agree,
let's not
but
get into
let's not
it.
go.
Yeah, let's not go there.
Yeah, yeah,
But then let's get to the point of you saying, okay, if they allow women to work, then they deserve to disappear. That's not really a choice that you have. Like, that's just not the way it works. Like, I think it's good that women are able to work, even if it might have consequences that are potentially negative for me. But the that doesn't matter to me, and also at the end of the day, it's not really a matter of choice. You can't just prohibit a woman to work. It's not going to work. And like, no society, like, in no country in this world has not had a big wave of feminism. Like, even Saudi Arabia, even in Saudi
I
Arabia,
know.
women are getting their rights, and it's not because everybody is so nice to women. It's not because people want to give these rights to women. It's because they have to. And
Because you cannot compete with another country that allows everyone to work, for example.
yeah, so but
I
not
think
only that, not only that, it's also because that women are not these minorities, or these alien creatures that live with us. There are mothers, there are sisters, there are aunts, there are friends, so we also don't want them, like, forget about competing. Like, if you have a daughter, and your daughter is sad about not being able to do the same things that as your son, I think that and you see that she doesn't have to be sad. Like, she could do the same things. At some point, you will give in, if if that's possible.
but I don't see work as the something that I want to do. I myself, if I found a woman who would take care of me financially, I wouldn't want to work. So trying to say that if my daughter is sad because she cannot work as hard as her brother, I will try to explain to her at least that that is a privilege, that she doesn't have to work. And let me tell you something that you can quickly realize, that beautiful women, like the successful women, the most beautiful women, since the start of time up to this day, they never work. They always get married. Even in Germany right now, your CEO or whatever, he is married to a young girl who doesn't have to work. So
Wait, if you
when a
could
woman
not
doesn't
work,
work,
if a woman could, if a woman could, if you
take
could get a
financial
sugar,
care of.
if you could get a sugar mommy, you would get one and stop working. Really?
Yeah, you see, men are not biologically interested in older women. So I'm saying, like, an 18-year-old woman who has a lot of
Wait,
money,
what?
that's impossible. I'm just,
I
I'm,
already encountered this problem many times. Incel black, no, sorry,
this is
not incel,
intolerant.
but like black pill content creators don't seem to understand the concept of milfs.
Nah, nah. You see,
Wait, you don't
I'm
believe
just,
that
I
milfs
said it.
exist?
I do find a lot of older women attractive, but
Okay,
not for long term, for example. You
but
can agree that it's not for long term.
sure, but let's say it's she's like she's just rich and very young. She built up a tech company with when she was 22 and sold it to.
She inherited money. She inherited money. Don't even make it complicated. She has a rich father,
Okay.
for example. I said it. I said it.
If it makes it easier for you, sure.
Yeah. You see, I'm just saying that working is something that I have to do, not something that I want to do. So if I had a daughter who's crying to me like, "Dad, why is my brother allowed to learn how to work with you and I don't?" Because I tell her, because you're so privileged that you're gonna get married to a guy who actually did the same thing your brother is doing, and you're gonna ideally, you see, because later I'm not gonna force anything or anyone. I'm just saying this as to explain, right? I'm not forcing anything on anyone, on my theoretical children. I'm just saying not working is the win. If you are a woman and you have never worked a day in your life, you win. You won. I don't
No,
see it
I
winning as going to McDonald's.
yeah, but
Most women, you see, because this is part of feminism. Just like a quick point. The point of feminism is that women will be CEOs. Not all of them will be CEOs. Only 1.5% of them will be. Most of them, most women that I work with right now, they hate their jobs and they wish all of them openly, secretly, whether they tell me this, whether they tell their girlfriends this, all of them would want to marry some rich guy and just stop working. So maybe in Germany they are so feminist that this doesn't happen, but women who are honest literally tell every day, and you can see it even like trends on TikTok. Women are tired of working and they don't want to work. So
I
why would you assume that
why
my
is that
daughter would want
important?
to work?
Wait, why is that important? Like the point that we are making right now, the point that I'm trying to make is that you are not able, it is not something that is a decision. Again, you seem to think that it was a decision that we gave women these rights. No, it's just something that they took and that also we had to give. And it's no one sat there and thought about it and then made a decision and said, okay, now we're going to do that. And
This is not a discussion about like the
but you said
how to
that
say it, like
Japan deserves
conspiracy.
Japan deserves to disappear because they allowed their women to work. That's what you said.
No, I'm saying
Didn't
in
you say
I'm not
that?
saying this in a conspiracy theory. I said if their culture allowed to. I
Yeah,
did not
sure,
say it's
culturally. No, no,
this.
no. I'm not saying that you said that. I'm not sorry. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I'm not saying
but
it's a
it's also not
conspiracy.
a
I'm
cultural
saying
decision.
okay. In Japan, for example, you know this thing where drivers are punished by cleaning toilets if they are 5 seconds late on the train or something like this, right? For
No, I don't
the
know
like the
about that.
crazy rules of Japan.
I
Well,
don't know.
okay. The Japan they have a lot of fixation on their metrics. They want their trains to never be late, right? They want their trains to be all on time.
Sure.
So if the driver is 5 seconds late, he gets like punished either financially or even something degrading. And there was one driver who was getting late at some point, and instead of facing the humiliation of getting late, he just accelerated beyond the crazy point, and he ended up killing a lot of people. So you see, when something is viewed as culturally positive at some point, look, we have the most organized society ever, but then it leads to people dying sometimes, or it leads to Japanese people having crazy suicide rates, for example, or anything like that. You can see that if a decision or if a cultural if something agreed upon culturally leads to the end of the people, then that people was going to end because that's their culture. It just makes sense. You see, if in Germany the you decided that women are allowed to work, and because women work, you have double the task for the you have double the workforce, and then you can afford to have lower salaries, because if you had only men that work, you will have to pay higher salaries because men can now negotiate. But now, if every job a man tries to negotiate, they have double the workforce, so it's harder to negotiate a better salary, for example. Now you have women who are competing with men in the workforce, and I do not believe, for example, let's just scoop through this point quickly. I do not believe in the wage gap. I believe the advantages is skewed towards women because women are
Different
getting
topic.
promoted
Let's
because
not get into that. What
yeah,
I
yeah,
still don't
I
understand.
want to
But
give
wait,
example.
you have to answer this question. You are saying
Okay,
Japan deserves die out basically because they have allowed their women to
collapse. Yeah.
work. But Saudi Arabia is going to eventually face the same fate. Do you disagree with that?
Then they deserve it too.
But what
That's
does that
universal.
mean
I'm
at
not
this
saying it
point? But
because
if
I
it's
hate.
not a choice, if you do you still think it's a choice? It's not a choice. That's just the way things go. Like that's just completely
If
normal. That, that it seems to be that this
if there
just
is a
happens.
country, if during this collapse, that the eventual collapse, because when you look at the numbers is just inevitable, if during this collapse few countries are just gonna uh, try to go back to the way because it was like you put it in a great way, in a good way, the going back to spirituality or religion. If amidst these collapse of all countries, some countries decide like, wait, we cannot keep bringing foreign peoples all the like this, we are just gonna disappear. Or these new people that come that form the new society, they say like, okay, let's not do like the people who were here before us because they disappeared, because they didn't value family values, so let's create our society while like around the family values, because any society that does not focus on that ended up disappearing. You
How
see, we
likely do
will
you think
have
that
the
is?
you see at that point I cannot predict the future. You see,
Okay,
I don't know even which one.
I
Maybe
don't.
the most religious one.
I think I think we have to go on with our conversation on immigration because we're taking too many side tangents. So the idea is we need immigration. Like Western countries need immigration. And that point we agree, correct?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. And we also agree uh, that there is issues that arise from immigrants coming into the country, for example, social cohesion issues, correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So, but it seems to me, which is to me quite surprising, that you seem to think that the negatives outweigh the positives outweigh the negatives. Correct?
The positive of immigration
Yes. I mean, you don't have any solution
to
you don't have any viable solution for increasing the birth rate. Correct? So we agree that we have to, just in order to prevent the collapse, we have to allow 200,000, like for Germany's example, 200,000 people in every year. It's not even allow 200,000 in absolute numbers, but minus the people that leave also every year. So you also have a lot. So you need net immigration of 200,000 people. So, and let's just take Germany as an example, okay? So for Germany, you would say let's do this 200,000 immigration, because all of the other solutions that you suggest, going back to monogamy, which we already agreed that that's not really the point. The point is that women and men don't want to make children. That's just a cultural thing. I think we agree on that. That's the real reason why the birth rate plummets, right?
Mhm. Okay, I just want to clarify a simple thing. Is the solution you what you're calling a solution is just I'm trying to point to a direction, because I do not believe that because if I actually believe that these solutions are applicable, then I'm an idiot. I'm not suggesting them as solutions. I'm saying one should look at this
No, no. Are
direction
you in
if they wants to fix
favor?
this problem.
Are you in favor?
Yeah,
I,
I'm in fact, no, I mean, I would consider these as the direction to go, but I do not believe that they will fix the problem, because this is you might I don't know if this is your philosophy in life or
you
not,
mean
but
immigration when
not
you say
everything has a
this,
solution.
right? When you say this, you mean immigration?
No, I mean the trying to fix the birth rate or trying to fix the country's problem by bringing in other people. I am saying that whatever it is, I'm not saying that the situation in these countries has a solution in the end. So, for example, it might be a dead end for white people. and that's it. They have lower birth rate. They will have to bring other people who are not white, and then in the future we will just have no white people.
But
And
they
I
will
don't
just
see that as a
die out.
problem. I'm just
But they will die out by themselves as well. I mean, look at Japan.
yeah. If
It's not like
if you close your eyes, if you close your eyes and wake up like 300 years ago and there is no Japanese people, and the Japanese people is just an old culture that we study in books, and we
sure,
know how they look because we had videos and stuff, but they don't exist anymore, that is a
sure.
possibility. That is how life
No,
goes.
but
I don't see a
how
problem
does
with that
no? But you why do you mention even them dying out by immigration? Like it has nothing to do with immigration that they die out. That's completely
because
besides the point.
you see, I can see why I can see like I can see the discrepancy here. The thing is that when you bring in immigrants, you focus less on trying to fix the birth rate because your metrics are matching now. Because instead of trying to fix the birth rate or trying to change the culture, you don't have to now because you're just bringing in another culture that has more children. And by
Wait,
doing that, in the end,
it takes 20
you
years
see,
to
you see,
but it takes wait, but you fixing the birth rate, that's a projection
but
into 20, 30 years in the future. So you have to do both at the same time. Like so the 200,000 people that come in every year, that have to come in every year, that's for this year. And you fixing the birth rate, that's not going to fix this year, that's going to fix 30 years ahead, that's going to fix 20 years
yeah,
ahead. So you can't
but
say
the birth
because
rate,
we're not focusing, wait, you can't say because we're not focusing. No, you have to, in both cases you have to do both in order to stop,
I
prevent
agree,
collapse.
100%. You're right. You are right. 100%. You are right. But
So
I'm saying
what's the
you must
argument? I don't
see,
understand the argument. Why is immigration?
because if
Why
you
is immigration bad?
if you follow if you follow the for example the politics of any European country or any country that is relying on immigration, their efforts in organizing immigration is way how to say this, there are more resources in organizing immigration than in fixing the birth rate. The in and you can see the politics. I cannot just talk for Germany for sure. The two countries I can tell about that are in these conditions are France, which they have so many regulations for
For all
immigrations that are
intents and
changing
purposes, let's
every.
say that it's almost the same.
Okay. They are using a lot of resources, a lot of laws in the parliaments that are discussed are about immigration. Every president that goes through the presidential election talks about the immigration as like his top three topics. But the birth rate, it comes like as not even in the top 50. I don't know. I receive an email sometimes in Russia like, what are your suggestions so we can improve the situation? They try to tie it to financial reasons, like because there's not enough money for children, and they try to give one-off payment, like for every child you have they give you some money. But that has been proven, and some a guy has I cannot link the video, but the guy has proven that this is not a good idea to just dump money on people and ask them to have children. Let's just believe me on that, okay? They're asking Russian people in the street, like, what would we do to have a birth rate? But then 5 times or 10 times more resources is being allocated on organizing immigration. So when you're saying is completely true, and I 100% agree with you that both need to be done. If you want to fix the society, you will need to keep the flow coming so you don't have problems right now, and fix the problem over the 20, 30 years of the birth rate of the ethnic people in that country. I agree with you. But more must be done in the first place in the department of birth fertility rate if you actually care about those people. Do you agree with me that there are more efforts done in organizing the immigrants? Because the politician who is right now in the spot, he is trying to make the numbers look good right now, and in 20, 30 years later that will be another politician who will have to deal with that problem. So you can see why I focus more on the solution of you see my point, right?
Mm, I understand what you're saying. The problem is it's with all short-term, long-term solutions. So if you have a short-term problem, if your doctor tells you you have to you've had a stroke, you have to lose weight in order for you not to get another stroke. If you get another stroke, it's over. Okay? So
Okay. You
therefore,
take
your
medicine.
immediate action, your immediate action is to start losing weight. Right? That's the immediate action that you have to do. And you have to and obviously your long-term plan is not going to do shit if you don't survive in the short term. So it doesn't even matter what you do in the long term if your short term is not fixed. So therefore, it's completely normal. That's already one point that is really important. Why there is so much more effort in the short term solution. And then the second thing is that we don't even know what would be like. What would you? Where would you invest? Like I wouldn't even know where you would invest more money into in order to fix a birth rate, which is totally culturally. The reason is completely culturally. You can see the examples, countless examples. Like we've talked about financial incentives for people making children. It's not working. Like you look at all the financial incentives that European countries, which are aware of this problematic for a long time. It's not like they're aware of it since like 20 years or something like that. They're aware of this problem for a long time, and you can see all of the money that has been poured into motivating people to get children, and it's not really doing anything. People still, even rich people,
Yeah.
just decide not to get children. So where would you put this money? What would be the like? Would you put them in re-education camps and tell them that it's good to, or would you give them Bible class? I don't know.
Maybe there will be people who are smarter than you and me who will come up with a solution,
Yeah,
because
but
I
where would
too
you
do not
pour the
have one. You
money?
see,
I mean, you say, yeah, but they're pouring all this money in immigration and said they should be pouring it in increasing the birth rate, but no idea what that means. And I think nobody knows what that really means.
you can have even more, how to say this, studies and research done on why and how. So you invest in the research department of how to, because it is a long term. So you see, the short term, we already know what you need to do, just bring in more people. That is simple. The other solution is hard, and the hard solution, the long solution, requires a lot of research and technological development possibly. And you see the point, where I'm getting at. You
I mean,
invested in researching the solution.
I would still invest more in maybe I would, if you ask me, I would do the complete opposite, because I think that this issue uh, of low birth rate is not something you can just throw money at. I think it could be a giant waste of money to just throw money at the problem. It's not going to solve anything. I think I'm not. I'm pretty sure. I'm not. I think at least that's what the past initiatives have shown. It has been shown that it's
Yes.
not really being solved by just giving more money. And then what I would do is I would pour even more money into immigration and make immigration better and make it such that all of the problems that we have from immigration, which are real, that these problems are being fixed, and that these short-term
Bring better
solutions.
immigrants.
Sorry.
You want to bring better immigrants. You want to
No,
bring
no,
better
not at all.
immigrants,
No,
quote
no, not
unquote.
at all. No, no, not at all. I think that's pretty
No,
cruel,
I do not
cruel and
mean it in
horrendous.
that way. I do not mean,
I know,
no,
but
I do
I
not
know
mean it
what
in
you
that way.
mean. But I don't want to do that. I
But
want to.
I'm like, let me put it in this way. If you could like look into like some snowball or something, and you could see Germany in the year 2300, for example,
Mhm.
and it is a country
Two
that
thousand three hundred.
speaks either for example, or
Okay.
200, any like any year in the future where the white
Mhm.
population have shrinked, and the majority, the vast majority there speaks Arabic or Turkish. I don't know, like the immigrant population in Germany. I'm supposing it's Turkish and Arabic, right?
A lot of
It would
it,
be
yeah.
like something like that. Yeah. So if in the earth of Germany, like on the land of Germany, you have people speaking Arabic, they have voted that the religion of the country is Islam, and they just become the dominant culture, and they voted everything as they want. Will you be okay with that or not okay with that? Not that it matters. I just want to know your opinion.
Wait, you would first. That would presume that I believe that that's going to be the case in 2300. I don't believe
Yeah, I'm
that.
saying,
I don't believe
if
that. Yeah, but I don't believe that.
if you wake up and that is the case, if you
Sorry.
see it and that is the case, will you be happy? If you get to see, like for example, if I show you like that in the future, that possibility, and you see it, will you be bothered by it or not? I'm not saying it's gonna happen or not gonna happen. I'm saying in theory, if I show you that position,
That
it
what
will. Does it
happens?
matter to you or not?
That
That
the
there will
language of
be.
Germany, I would be if the language of Germany is now a different language, I would not be bothered by that.
And the white people are the minorities, and it is, for example, they voted out the religion of the country to whatever population that came there, which most likely Islam, according to. I'm not saying it is I'm not saying it is gonna happen. I'm saying if that's what I show you the future is, you won't have a problem with it.
I would have a
right?
problem with I would have a problem with religion dominating a country. Uh,
I'm
that
saying it is thriving. It is thriving. No,
no,
it
I
is
don't care if
thriving.
it was.
Everything is
I
working.
don't care if it's thriving. I don't care about that. Like I wouldn't want to.
Yeah, but you also don't care. You don't care if, for example, there are no white people anymore, or they're
Wait,
like
you're asking
the
my
minority.
opinion. Wait, my personal feelings. My
Yeah.
personal feelings. I am not in
Yes.
favor of a
Exactly.
state that is dominated by religion. I don't think. I think that should be separate. I think that religion
Okay.
should be something that is
Okay.
done in private. So that would be something I would not be happy about it. So, but I would be neutral about the
Okay.
language because I don't think that it people would in any way suffer from it. And what was the other thing that you said? Mostly, yeah, I
The
would
fact
also
that
be. I think I would also be. I would be okay with Germans being the minority, but as long as, of course, that they don't feel the effect of being a minority. And also, I would be a little bit sad about the fact that, because I don't believe that's going to happen, but I would be a little bit sad about the fact that still one ethnic group is still so predominantly the majority in a country. Because I think that in about a few hundred years, that should not be the case. I think that no country will have like this ethnic, clear ethnic majority as it is today. I think most countries are going to be like places like New York, London, Berlin, Paris, like so multi-ethnic, like even more so than yeah, like that's going to be on a nationwide basis.
yeah, but you see, you and I do not have a problem with basically the whole world becoming, how to say this, where it doesn't really matter where you come from, right? Where your background or the culture, as long as you're living within the rules of that country and you're not hurting anyone, we don't really care. For example, if that will be done in Germany with the whites being a minority, so be it. As long as the country is thriving, if white people decided themselves to have less children than the rest, then it was their choice or their culture that led them to that. And if every country of if every city becomes like London, or the videos that you see where they show like the Canada metro, and it's basically, you would think that it's India, for example. If you are okay with that, but the thing is that you are fighting with people who are not okay with that. Is that the whole fight of immigration in Germany, right? Is
I
that
mean,
there are a
yeah,
lot of people who are not okay with it?
I guess the people like it's funny. Like you have a phenomenon like globalization, right? And it has basically started with colonization. Like globalization started out with colonization. That's where this whole thing started. And before, everybody was living in their own country, and like just within Europe there was like there was still a lot of migration of ethnic groups and stuff like that. But like let's say like globalization as a socio-economic phenomenon, like that is based on finances and based on trade, like that's where it started with colonization. And then you have like this history of 500 years of colonization, which then starts dying down officially, but you still have remnants of it, and still there is a lot of colonization going on. But at some point, it is inevitable that this global economy is going to also make, if every good is flowing freely, that also every human resource is going to flow freely. And also, not only is that inevitable, but it's also necessary to keep the whole thing alive. And then people are wondering why Indian people, which are, I don't know, a billion now, I think. Has India reached a billion? I think it's like 700, 800 million last time I checked, I think. I don't know. I don't remember.
It's more than
Is it
that.
a billion?
1.3.
1.3 even. Look,
It is.
it's crazy, yeah. So I think in school, when I was in school, it still said like 700 million or something like that, which is like 15 years ago. So,
It is projected to even surpass China in the next 20 years or something.
okay.
It's gonna be
So
1.6.
yeah, so if every country is basically going to be like the average, like it's just going to be just like you have an international city like London, who has profited for 500 years from international trade and the world being globalized, then it's normal that also the demography of London is going to be exactly like the demography of the whole world. And if Indian people are a billion and a half almost, it's normal that there are a lot of Indians there. And I don't know, you can complain about it, but it's the
I
reality
don't.
of the world. No, not you, but I mean
I don't
people
have.
that complain about it. And
Yeah, I don't have a problem with Indians. You don't have a problem with Indians, but the people who are, let's say, fighting immigration, they do. That's the thing. They do, and you understand, right? The people
sure,
who
I
are trying
understand
to
that.
limit.
Yeah, yeah, but the basis of their being against it is not from a place of pragmatic. Uh, it's not from a place of pragmatic. I want X and I'm not okay with X, and it's unjust or something is take someone is taking something away from me. It's completely hypocritical with everything else they want in life. It's completely it's not in cohesion with everything else they want in life.
So, like the point of, I don't know, if you want to convince a white supremacist that it doesn't matter if the birth rate is gonna be fixed by, you know, other white people or bringing people who have a better birth rate. Um, you see, I don't know, that's gonna be a very hard battle. But the thing is that people who fight on your side are gonna be more and more anyway. You see,
But
like by sheer numbers.
no, it's not necessarily. I mean, you are immigrant and you basically are on the other side, right? You already are on the other side. I mean, you are already you see immigration
Uh,
as something bad. I mean, I don't know, maybe
Okay, maybe that's maybe I'm sorry if I didn't you see, I was about to correct you the first time about this,
sure,
but it slipped me, and I'm sorry I didn't do it the first time. But
sure.
it's not that I'm being like the advocate for the devil, as they say,
Mhm.
because I am not white myself, and I'm not racist myself. I do not hate anyone based on their ethnicity. So I'm trying to say how someone like how I see for example, the Russians uh, who have a problem with this, how they articulate their points, and I can see it and I can understand it, let's say, but I will not understand it or agree with it if it just came from like pure hatred. Because if you talk with someone long enough, and for example, this Russian guy who grew up in the US, and I was talking about him in this subject, and by asking him a series of questions, I realized that in the end, he just is a white supremacist. He does not admit to it. He does not say anything racist in technical terms, but there is always an insinuance that because you are white, because you are non-white, then you are more likely to commit crime. Something like this. You see, he does not say it directly, but if you connect all the dots of what he says, there is this thing where when you are not white, when you're not born white, or you are not in the white culture or approval or white friendly or whatever it is, then you are more incentivized to do crime and commit bad things. And I try to agree with him, to disagree with him and tell him like, listen, we in Tunisia we have no white people. Basically, we are all that ethnicity, and we do not have problems. We are fine as a society. No, you live in the US, you see like these problems, but I live in Tunisia with Tunisian friends, and we don't have this problem. So if it is coming from the point of we don't want immigrants because we hate them, we hate how they look, we hate how they smell, we hate how everything about them, then I'm not for that argument. I'm saying in the argumentation of when you bring select people who are in young age, who are in the age of where the testosterone is at peak, or where they are, and you pick the ones that are more adventurous and you bring them in, and they don't know the language and they don't have the money, you create problems in the second in the society of reception. So if Russia receives a lot of people who do not speak Russian, who do not have the same Russian values, they, of course, if you had statistically to pick who is more likely to commit a crime against a woman, is it a local Russian or an immigrant who does not speak the language? And statistically, logically speaking, it's going to be the immigrant, because he does not even have a real chance of actually talking to a woman. So that's the thing. You see now how I am against the immigration, but not in a white supremacist way.
sure. I would even go. I mean, I think I would even go further in the sense of I do think that just by the fact of we have different levels of technological advancement and of modernity in the world and between countries. So if you look at a culture, if you look at a country like Turkey or Tunisia, we are way behind in terms of technology and also in terms of modernity. Okay, and this behindness gives us a higher birth rate, but it also gives us a higher crime rate. These are both like entangled with each other, and we are living in a society that is yes, more violent, but at the same time a better social cohesion and better social checks and balances, and
More
less,
fertility
sorry, more
and more
what,
fertility rate.
more fertility rate. Yeah, that's
Fertility
what I
rate.
meant. So so this goes hand in hand. So you basically have like, you can look at it like you have Germany, who's like 30 to 40 years ahead of these countries, and doesn't have a lot of the problems that they still have, like high crime rate and stuff like that. And then you have these other people who have who are 30 years behind, who don't have these, who have all of these problems still, but they don't have they have the higher birth rate. And so
I really love this point that you're making. I'm gonna just add on this like a more an equivalent, an analogy or a more equivalent solution. It's not even an analogy; it's the same thing. Where I was telling my cousin, we were walking on the streets in Russia, and it's like 4 a.m. and there are like a lot of Russian girls like walking like by two or even one, and I'm saying like, look at all these girls feeling safe in their city, and he says, yeah, we don't have that in Tunisia, and I'm telling him I don't think that's a good thing. You see, it sounds crazy, right? Why would a woman feeling safe be not good? But I'm saying because it is indicative of something. It is indicative that there are not a lot of dangerous men around, which correlates in. I know this.
with low
I have no.
fertility.
Yeah, it no. It just correlates with lower levels of testosterone, for example, lower male aggressivity in general. You see, if women are walking safe on the street and there are no policemen, it's not like there is a policeman on every corner. There is, it is a safe city. What I'm saying is these women feel uncomfortable. For example, I have women who have physically assaulted me. And I'm thinking the only reason you are assaulting me physically is because when you done it to a man before, they did not retaliate. Well, when I come from my country, it's not like when a woman hits you, you don't hit her back. It's a different country. See, if you got his stroke, you can strike back. But not that I'm advocating beating women. You get the point. They are so overly aggressive, and some people see this as a good thing. Women can defend themselves. Women are safe. Women are this. Women are that. Well, on the other hand, you see, you said that in Tunisia and Turkey we have a high fertility rate, more family security, but it leads to more crime. Well, the fact that they don't have crime in white total country, for example, there are cities in Russia that are not hit by immigration. If you go away from the bigger cities, there are cities that have zero immigration, like 100% white people. And in this city, you have zero crime rate, like everyone knows each other. It's a Southwell city, but the men there are zero aggressivity, zero testosterone. The way you wanna put it, they're zero motivated. They're not manly men the way you wanna put it. You see, so the more the society is safe and technologically advanced, the more women are safe, the more men are quote unquote weak, and the more problems you have with fertility. But the
Yeah, I mean,
contrast is that in that society, really fast, in that society that have weak men and very strong women, and you bring in them someone who has come from a society where men are still strong, you can see how that creates a problem, regardless of the color of skin. Because even if it was the reverse, if it was the Arabs who were advanced and the US that was not, and someone from the US came to the Tunisia and he does not speak the language, you can understand how he will be frustrated. So it's not about color at all.
no, it's not. It's not. But again, the point with testosterone and fertility, you have a correlation there, but we don't know. I mean, I don't think, I don't think
Vague,
that.
vaguely.
Yeah, but
I'm not meaning it as
because the same
direct.
reason. No, they're just correlating because they're the symptom of the same thing that happened, which is that physical strength is not that important anymore. So you have lower testosterone and also more power to women, right? So these two things are a symptom of the same thing. So they correlate highly in societies. So you can see a big correlation between strong women and low testosterone in men, but they're not caused by each other. So, and there is no direct correlation between them. There's no necessity for a direct correlation between these two things, because even if there is high testosterone men, you have a woman that is powerful in society because she has money and because she's able to provide for herself, and she's able to basically pay the state to provide her the safety that she needs from high testosterone men, for example. But this idea of woman being like, so I would definitely say that it is very good that women can walk safely during the night, and I think that that's one thing where I know that there is certain, I agree, for example, that certain um, agendas of feminism have gone too far in some areas. For example, when it comes to looking after girls in education, I think that we are there now. Women are very, very successful in education, and men have a lot of problem in education. So that's an area where I would definitely dial down I would dial up the gender equality by giving boys more chances and making school a little bit more boy friendly. But in other regards, I think we are way behind still in feminism in the world, because if I am now 31, okay, so maybe
You two look younger. You two look younger.
I also look younger. So in the next 4 to 5 years, I want to at some point get married, have children. And I have traveled a lot in my life. I have traveled all over the world. I've been in so many countries. Sometimes, when I was younger, I didn't have any money. I was just backpacking, and I was sleeping at the worst places. I was getting into some dangerous situations and stuff like that. Later on in life, I had more money. I could stay in more comfortable places, go with the cab everywhere, and blah blah. But I'm thinking at the world how it is right now. Like, if I have a girl, if I have a daughter, I'm not going to be able to just send her out in the world, and just like my parents were able to do that, because it's still not a really safe place for a woman. And also, it was not always safe for me. I agree, and I also did some stupid stuff, and just like you young people do. But for a girl right now, it's dangerous. It's still a dangerous world, and we live in, and I think it should not be that way. And I think that we profit from giving women that safety, and you already said so yourself. It's just you can't compete with a country that treats women equally, because you just have double the brain power, double the manpower, quote unquote, um, and we all profit from that. And who knows, if we really get technologically so advanced, I don't know. We don't know what's going to
Well,
happen.
we know who doesn't profit from that equation, because I agree with everything you said so far. You know who doesn't benefit from this situation?
I can guess.
Yeah, it is the local men when there are, let's say, unequal a man of equal attractiveness status and financial status who comes in the game, but he is more how to say this gently, you see, sexually frustrated. Because for example, if you compare someone who has been desensitized to naked women, for example, as the majority of young men are watching like movies and stuff with naked women on them, and the sensitivity of men is getting lower and lower and lower. Okay, if we have someone who comes from a society where he doesn't have access to that, which let's face it, doesn't exist anymore, right?
It doesn't exist
But for
anymore.
example,
You have
In
VPNs.
Germany, you have, for example, yeah, in Germany, you have, for example, the saunas, or some places where women and men can go
Sure.
naked together without any sexual tension, right?
I,
If
I
you
I
tell
wouldn't say
that to
without any
anyone,
sexual tension, but without anything bad happening to anyone.
okay, yes, with lower, okay,
Sure.
because if you tell that story to someone from my country, if you tell that to my countryman, well, A, he will not believe you. B, he will Google that and believes you now, and then he makes a joke about going to Germany. Because it is not common. You see, if, for example, if you have never seen a woman naked in your life, neither in real life or in on the screen, even seeing an ankle will turn you on.
Sure.
That's how sensitivity works in human beings.
Sure.
Okay, so the
It's like
man
the scene
and
in
that,
Scarface, where did you watch? You watch Scarface, right?
not not really, no, but
You
I
should
can
definitely watch
see
it.
it's happening. will. I have a list of movies, and it's definitely on there. So you see, when you are sexually deprivated, you grow this frustration, and this frustration, it has a well a clear negative effect, which is the frustration itself, but it teaches you how to be how to work with what you have. For example, if you are not the best looking man ever, and you are in a society where it's very hard to be out with a woman, you learn how to be sneaky, you learn how to talk better to women, you know how to lie even. And all these advantages that I bring with me to Russia, for example, and I myself, and I'm not linking this to testosterone or anything like that. I think of myself as someone, despite looking calm on the outside, I boil when I look at a woman. And my Russian equivalent, which is a white boy, which is discussed, by the way, there is a French book written by someone who is a white supremacist, but he's not white himself. You know, the presidential, a guy who wants to become a president in France. Basically, he wrote about this, where women become fantasizes about these immigrants just by the sheer frustration and testosterone and adventures that
Wait,
they have in them
Is
that
it Marine
lacks
Le
in.
Pen?
No, it's a guy who is on the same side, let's say, okay?
Okay.
Is Eric Zemmour.
Mm-hmm.
He's you can Google him, Eric Zemmour.
Mm-hmm.
He got like 5% in the last election, and he's not doing so well. But in his books, like he is, let's say, I don't know who would be that guy in Germany, but in French, he's the furthest you can go. As an even Le Pen is like a joke next to him.
Mm-hmm.
You see, he is the farthest you can go to the right.
Sure.
And he wrote this in a book, and like it is so violent. You see, it is so violent the way he writes it. But if I take it and I dial it down, you see, I dilute it a bit because it has so much hatred, right? If I just dilute it a bit, I can see the concept, I can see the spectrum, I can see that the Russian guy who is my equivalent, he's cold. How to say cold? You see, he looks at a naked woman and it doesn't matter to him.
He's modern.
He's not that excited.
He's modern.
Yeah, you see,
But at the same
I
time,
don't
he's
see that. I don't
also.
correlate that.
I
I don't
mean,
see that as
that's.
a good thing. You see?
I mean, you can. I think to me, I have to be honest. Like, it's. I am pretty. In my private life, I am, I guess, more emotionally conservative than probably most leftists. But uh, I don't see it as a good thing or a bad thing. Like, if you are happy with living in an open relationship and not living monogamous, and with being okay that you have different sexual partners and your wife also has different sexual partners, or if you live in a monogamous relationship where you don't even it's not even allowed to look at another woman or shake another woman's hand. I don't care about that. Like, that's not why would I uh, as long as you are happy, I don't really care about that. I don't have a value judgment about that, right?
Both are happy, but the society that has the first kind is gonna diminish compared to the society that has the second kind. Because
Yeah,
even
but it's
you
not
said we
your
talked about globalism, right?
moral. It's not. That's not where where moral judgment doesn't come from what my actions are. Got me, like me killing myself is also like not so good for demographic and for society dying down. But no one would come to someone and say, you're such a horrible person for killing yourself because you have diminished our demographic. Like that, it doesn't really make sense, right? Like every negative thing you would do to yourself, like you would first say, okay, it's a negative thing that that person is not bringing up a child, or like you would have to need some other proxy thing in between in order to
But if
have
in
a
a
negative
culture,
judgment.
if in one culture, if in one culture you have a lot of people suiciding, and another culture you don't, it's quite, how to say this, it's quite useful to analyze what makes these people have these tendencies and what makes these people don't. So if you analyze, okay, we have the people who are immigrants in Europe, they are having more children than Europeans themselves who were there before. What makes this subsection of who are not even 20 or 30% or 10% of population, why are these having 3.5 birth rate, and the German woman is having like 1.5 or what? That's, for example, that's a way you can start
I
seeing the
mean, we've
problem.
already
Because
agreed
if
that it comes with a lot of positives and with a lot of negatives. Like you have a German society which is really modern and has lower crime and has a lot of issues that doesn't have a lot of issues, and then you have Turkish society or Tunisian society that doesn't have that. But so which one is better? So would you say that you could definitely choose one
And
that is better?
that depends on your goal. That
On your
depends on
what?
the goal, because you have either here goal. You have two
Sure.
goals here.
Yeah.
The first one is, do you want the society to just continue to exist, or you prioritize it having to prosper right now to have the best life possible for its members right now, even that if it leads that it's going to be weaker, because let's say eventually it gets so weak that it gets invaded by another country, for example. I'm just saying. So what are you prioritizing? Do you want your society to have the best life for it right now, which is comes by like simple fixes, or you want your society to live on forever, which comes with solutions that, let's face it, they sound impossible. The solutions that we discussed, they're impossible to implement. To
Yeah, but it
they're
depends
impossible to
on, yeah,
execute.
exactly. But it depends on the lens through which you look at it. For example, if you look at an individual, a young person living, it might be way cooler to live in Berlin than to live in Saudi Arabia, right? So it's more fun. You can have more sex. You can do like a lot of things are more nice. But if you look at it from a perspective of a nation being able to defend itself and to survive, and so it's not inherently, there is no inherent moral judgment that can be attached to it. I think it's just
But then
inherently
you see,
neutral.
it
So
is.
so I think it's
You see,
neutral.
this is. I have a disagreement, because it is fun until it isn't. You see, it is fun until it isn't. So you
Wait,
say
you
it's.
seem to argue in favor of the traditional society being better. That seems to be your argument.
Let me then phrase it this way: if I cared about the society living forever and existing forever, then my focus will be on the more traditional family conservative values. That is what I said. That
Sure,
is what I
but
believe in.
then you
But
started with it is fun until it isn't
I,
fun.
yeah, do you know how? You know why it is fun? Because it isn't fun. Because, well, this goes back to all the BPL theories. Because now it used to be fun to go clubbing in Berlin. I bet you that is less fun now, and it's less fun tomorrow, and it is less and less and less fun for the average guy, for example. You see, if you are not the guy, then you're having less fun, and that has been true. I'm not gonna elaborate at all here. I'm just saying, if you watch the channels that are dedicated to the subject, they can all show that it used to be way fun to club 20 years ago than to club today. It started to be less and less and less fun for the majority of people, and
Again,
more fun
you
for
you
a small minority of
okay, you
people.
seem to make a case
So
that the appeals of modern society are not really that good, and you seem to
they're
defend the
not
traditional
sustainable. Not
society.
sustainable.
Okay, but then you
They're
seem
not
to
sustainable.
but then you seem to be defending the traditional society. You seem to say that that's
You see,
better. But every time I
okay,
ask you that,
then I
then you
will.
say no. I only if I care about survival of the species, or the
Okay,
ethnicity.
then let me clarify this. So
Sure.
let me clarify this, because I can see the confusion. Uh, I understand what needs to be done for a society to, not that I claim the knowledge. I can think in the way that would make a society thrive. Okay, in theory. But I'm, for myself, I am pretty egoistical, and I would want to go where the fun is. So that comes the part when you said in the first, like, I want to come here, but I don't want the others to come. That's where it comes from.
Yeah.
Because I myself advocate. I admit this. I'm not hiding this. I
No,
want to
it's
have fun
okay.
myself.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, if you're asking me about the immigration, and you tell me like, hey, we have this question here in Germany, and I want to open a debate, or we are not like debating against each other, we're just having a discussion, right?
Yeah.
And you're saying, I want to hear your opinion on this, and I have to say, because I believe it is the case, that if you want things to thrive, continue to prosper, and to have to exist like eternally as a society, you have to do X, Y, and Z. I myself will not help you. You see, if you ask me, hey, can you please bring us 11 children? I can, like, in theory, have 11 women and like, or one woman and have multiple children, but I don't want, that's my personal life, my choices. I'm not discussing those. So if you're asking me personally on what I would do, you will receive a different answer from asking me what needs to be done for a society to thrive. Did
No,
that
I'm not
clear that
asking
up?
you what you would. No, I'm not asking you what you would do personally. I feel like I've said that I think that these two lifestyles, like the or these two time frames that we're looking at, the Tunisian society with Tunisian people in it, and modern Russian society with Russian people in it, with lower testosterone, lower birth rates, lower crime, and all of this, like all of this things, these two things. I think at the end of the day, the way I look at it is I'm looking at it that it's both neutral in a sense that it's it really depends. It's just like you said, it really depends on through which lens you're looking for. You're looking at it,
Okay,
and
they
so
are
in that
neutral or far away from each other. Far away from each other, they're neutral. But
and
if you start bringing the men who grew up in one and into the other, then
yeah,
you disbalance it because they were neutral far away from each other. But now you're bringing the men who
no,
grew up in chaos and you're
you're
bringing them
fixing
to modernity.
you're fixing one problem that evolved in the one country with the population of the other country. So you're patching holes that were ripped into your society with excess on the other in the other society, and
And you
that's
create, we do not talk about the problems you create in the society you take from because you're taking their men from them, you see? So
that's why I'm not in
you create.
favor. That's why I'm not in favor of taking the best. I'm in favor of taking whoever wants to come. And if that's mostly people that are not very educated, then so be it.
That's that's a hard pill to swallow for the right wing of your country because
I mean,
all they
at the
see is
moment they don't have the
additional cost.
choice. At the moment they don't have the choice, right? So Germany is not as
Yeah, but
attractive as people
you realize that
as it used to
50%,
be.
50% of the visas issued from France to Tunisia or France to overall, I don't know which one, but 50% are family reunion. So the 50% of people who came lately, they did not come there to work. They came there for like for security, social security, and stuff like this. Do you
Mm-hmm.
realize the logical on why it would be at all? For example, I'm a working man in Russia. I work. You see,
Mm-hmm.
if you bring in people who are not going to work, I will be disappointed regardless of where they come from. Even if you make Russian people stop working, I will not like that. So it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
matter their ethnicity. I'm not racist. I don't care if you add people who do not work in my society, my salary will mean less because you will take more from it. You
Mm-hmm.
see, taxes are not that heavy in Russia. They're not, I don't pay any taxes almost. You see, it's not that I have the problem of a German person, but if your salary tomorrow, I don't know how rich you are, I'm not going to accuse you of anything, but if you had a normal salary that is 2000 something, I don't know what it is, but you have more taken off of it because they brought more people that are not there to work, then you will feel the damage yourself.
Mm-hmm.
How are you in favor of that?
Yes. Let me explain to you what the issue, what the thing is. So currently, if you look at immigration, like most immigrants that came here work. Okay, so if you look at it, it's not that most immigrants that come here don't work. You have some immigrants that are not allowed to work, which is a horrible bad situation. That's what I meant with getting more. But the reason for that, as far as I know, in Germany at least, is that you have asylum laws that prohibit them from working, and that's a really bad situation. That's just a stupid bad situation. And
Okay,
also,
I agree.
yeah, so that it makes no sense. But the problem is that these situations have been created by people who don't want to allow for legal immigration, that do not like, for example, instead of someone having to come as an asylum seeker, if that person would come as an immigrant and would get a regular visa and would start having a job and stuff like that and all of that, uh, you wouldn't have that problem, right? But yeah, I'm of course
Yeah,
against. I'm in favor of them working, and most immigrants work, so I don't really. And the thing is, the ones I've met a lot of like Syrian and people from Afghanistan, refugees. I've worked with them in two jobs that I had during my studies when I was still in university. I was once working in a refugee asylum, and another time for a year I worked in a hostel, and they were also having a lot of Syrian and Afghan refugees, and like 99% of them just want to. They're like, man, we're so bored out of our fucking lives. They're just sitting there the whole day, don't know what to do, and they're just waiting in limbo on what's the next decision is going to be, and are not allowed to work. Some of them even work like illegally, just so they have something to do, and they work for a shit loan for 3, 4, 5 euros an hour in shit places just to have something to do. So I don't know. I do see that's a problem, but I don't think that's a problem of immigration. I don't think that people want to uh, just come to hang out.
Okay, but you see, as if someone, for example, I know this is on like a personal level, but you can check as a metric if it was possible to check as a metric. For example, they're willing in learning the language. Because if you're actually showing me that someone is like the people you worked with, which is like a personal experience, but if they actually have learned the language in a respectable manner, in the way that allows them to actually work, and they're actually applying and they're not allowing them because they're immigrants, then that's a problem that we agree 100% must be fixed. But what I'm seeing, for example, in my case, again, in Russia, some people who are like 5, 15, 17, and they're with their parents and they're speaking in the language they're speaking in, which is like whether Kyrgyz, whether it's a Turk language, or it doesn't matter. It's like from a different nationality. And I talk to the kid and he looks at me, and like in a restaurant, for example, he's a waiter, right? And he looks at his parent and he's like, what is he saying? And they both have to sit there and guess what I said in Russian. And I'm like, okay, maybe your parent came here in a like old and didn't have the chance to learn, but you went through school here. You went through school. So when a Russian guy in the parliament says like, okay, we have to kick people from our school who refused to learn the language, who had like 3, 4 years in the school and still did not learn the Russian language, we will have to kick them because themselves they form like small groups of like whether Kafkas or whether their nationality they came from, and they form this group of foreigners in the group, and it becomes a band in the school that is separated and usually more aggressive for the reasons we discussed earlier, but they are more aggressive. And we have now in the school like these classes that are for Russians and these classes that are really for Russians, but technically not, where they put the bad students. And they want to fix this problem. And I look at the political debate and I see like, okay, I can see why this is a problem someone wants to fix. So you see, so do you agree with me that not trying yourself to learn the language or try yourself to find a job is a reason, for example, for at least people wanting you either to motivate you to learn the language or they want you out of their country because you are just someone to feed and you are not going to be productive in any way, shape, or form.
I really believe in a in that sense I'm really leftist. I really believe in a strong state. I don't think I mean mostly I grew up in a neighborhood that was predominantly Turkish and some Arab people, but in my basically in my primary school we had 92% foreigners in my class. So basically we only had I think from 30 students, only 3 or 4 German kids, and the rest was just had some background in Turkey, Palestinian, some and stuff. So, and we had classmates who were really bad at learning German, and the reason was just that the parents were so uneducated. I mean, I had a friend. His parents were not. His mother was not able to read, and his father was never really around. His father was like working a lot, but also at the same time hanging around and drinking and stuff like that. So he really didn't really have any support at home to learn the language. And I think in those cases, that's where the state is what the state is there for. And uh, I mean, it's. I'm not saying that there is no people that who are who. I'm not saying there is no 15-year-old who is reluctant to learn something. Like it's your job to be reluctant to learn stuff at 15. It's like the most normal thing in the world, right? To not want to learn
Yeah,
something.
I blame the parents in that
Yeah,
case. By the
I
way, I
mean,
blame
yeah,
the parents.
yeah, me too. But at the same time, I think that that's where the state has to be there. In the same way that if you have neglect in a child, like if we had a classmate, he was being neglected, like seriously, like he was starting to smell when he came to school and stuff like that, and he was like in a bad shape, and you could really tell. And in those cases, that's where the state has to intervene and to help out where the parents are failing. So yeah, I don't know. I
Yeah,
don't
and
really in that
I
age I
agree.
don't really see the problem. I feel like the problem is on the state. The onus is on the state, just like with everything else that the parents are not able to provide. And if you look at older ages, I mean it's there is just people who are I know friends of my my father's, so my one of my best friends' father, for example, he has been in Germany for 30 years, and he doesn't speak. He speaks very bad German, just very very bad German. But yeah, what do you do about that? I mean, he's still a productive member of society. He's still working. He's still paying taxes. It's not good, obviously, and he's also not so happy about it. But at the end of the day, I mean, it's not a deal breaker for being a productive member of society.
So I agree with you 100% if the society's focus was turned into making integration more easy to integrate to the society, and it facilitates to these members to be more productive, and they end up being more productive as in a successful way, then I will have literally no problems with immigrations, because my problem with immigrations does not come from like racial hatred. So if immigration was organized in a way that everyone who comes will eventually find a place, it doesn't have to be right now, like, because it's crazy to ask someone to only come if they have a contract. That's crazy. You can only get a job once you are here, right? I have seen these rules trying to pass in like some countries where you have to come with already enough money and to have like well, and I'm thinking like, if you had all that, who would be coming, right? If you're asking someone to come with already like 20,000 euros in like a closed bank account and a place to stay and a contract, that person is usually doing well in his own country. That's not the person you're going to attract, right? So you're going to attract someone who needs you too. So you cannot be too selective, because the right, I do not agree with right wing stuff that they only want to bring geniuses. That doesn't work. But there must be a plan that is proven, at least in the first years, to actually facilitate the people who come to your country. Either educate them language when they are over there, or receive them right away and teach them like the language, or just change the way work works, where you don't need to speak German in Germany for the work to get done, right? If everything like that is implemented, like, to conclude, right? If everything like that is implemented and making all uh, the facilitation, everything easy for an immigrant to just come and start working in Germany, then as a German citizen, I wouldn't have a problem with that, because my own life isn't affected negatively in any shape, way, or form. But the way it is working right now is they're accepting people who are getting a lot of medical free like assistance. I don't know in France for sure. I don't know in Germany, but I'm
Same
assuming
here.
that people get treatment. Yeah, so they come for the free treatment. They come from it is
I don't
treated
think there is
as
any evidence for them coming for free treatment.
like the only evidence I have is that I hear them talk about it in Tunisia, for example,
Sure.
which is very anecdotal,
Does it
but
work?
you can believe
I
me.
mean, I mean, does it is it
Yeah,
really
it
like
does.
medical? I mean, how is the process in Tunisia? Like, don't you have to like? Is there a legal immigration where you just can apply and then go to France and then get your treatment, or don't they have to get
No,
on boats and
for
or extend their visa or something like that?
let me tell you how this happens from this side of the border, right? So, someone has a problem, whether it is criminal, whether it is health issue, or it is just financial. Like they need a lot of money in the future and they don't have anyone who can make that sort of money in Tunisia. Okay, so whether it's financial gain or health, or they have a crime they need to run away from, or
Connection is my connection is up, but I think his connection just died down. Mm. How do I change this? Okay, I don't know. I'm not getting any message from him. Let's wait another moment. Okay, so I will take a quick break. Let's see if he comes back. Otherwise, we're going to wrap it up. Okay, we are
Okay.
back, but we're working on the visuals.
Yeah. So the point we were talking about is how it would how does it look like from the other side of border, how they would organize to benefit from the system, right?
Yeah, sure. Before you continue, let's make that be our last point because I have to leave soon as well. But
Yeah,
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 let's
that's
let's let's go.
I will just wrap it up.
Sure.
So in order to so someone is suffering from a problem, you see, and the whole city, the whole country, the whole not city or country, like this, right? Does it work?
Oh yes.
Yeah. So the whole town will try to help him. They will gather the money, they will send them there, or even sometimes he doesn't have to suffer a problem. It will be just an investment. As you will go there, you do your thing, and you send us back the money. And they decide this together, and they send him on a boat, which is the hard way, or there is the easy way, which is they find someone who is already living in Germany or France who has the Tunisian nationality, or they just know him, and they marry them. They marry them either for real or just for the reason of going to Germany. They go to Germany where they either continue together or not. That's not the problem. But the whole thing was organized to benefit from the system. And if you want a good immigration system, you must have one that doesn't allow that, that doesn't allow people with ill intent to just come and benefit from the system. Do you at least agree with this point?
Yes, I think that it should not go that way. It should not happen that way. Wait, your screen just you just
Sorry.
disappeared again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we
So
can just rug there.
sure. No,
Oh yeah,
no, I
please.
agree. I agree with the. I mean, this whole idea of them having to get married and to take the family and all of this, like and also then the idea of social security. This is a whole different topic. Like this whole idea of social security has to be rethought, and it's not just a problem of immigration. Like this idea of social security being taken advantage of. Yeah, it is a problem in immigration, but it is a general problem. It's not like it has been invented by immigration. And so even if you stop immigration 100%, it's not going to save your social security system, because you also in Germany here people you have like basically if you turn on television, the television will tell you the whole day that people are taking advantage of social security, right? You have these soaps during the day that show you people that take advantage of the social security system and basically just hang around at home and don't want to work. I don't believe that. I generally don't believe in this idea of taking advantage of social security system. I believe that people, if they have a perspective to have a good, fulfilling job, will prefer that. And if the advantages outweigh, I mean, let's look at it like this. So you're an immigrant in Tunisia, right? You're an immigrant from Tunisia. You come into the country to benefit from their social security system, right? To just hang around at home to get money. But the thing is, like the money that you get is barely enough to survive. It's like really really low money, right? So actually, I mean that's the way it is, and that's the way it should be, I guess.
It is low for you. It is low for you to survive in Germany. Let's say it is 1,000 euros or even less.
It's not.
Even
It's
if you can, okay,
I mean, it
maybe
should
even on
be. Let me just give you. We don't care about the real numbers. Let me just give you a rundown of how it should be, and that's going to show you that it has nothing to do with immigration. Okay, so the way it should be is that if you are unemployed, you get a wage and your rent paid. Okay, and the wage that you get, the this amount is so little that you can't afford to do shit. You can't go out. You can't go to cinema. You can't go have dinner in a restaurant. You can't even generally you shouldn't even be able to order in, right? So mostly you will eat shit food or you will have to cook at home all the time. So you will not be able to participate in any social life that costs money. Okay? So that's the status. That's the way it is currently in Germany, and I think that's the way it is in France as well.
yes,
So
that's not the goal.
wait,
It is not to live
your
for
voice
yourself.
is
Like,
your voice is really really low again. You have to take the microphone.
yeah, look, it is not
Wait. I'm
only
not
about the
done
money
yet.
that you're
I'm
gonna
not done yet. I'm not done yet. So that's the way it is, right? So and I don't believe I in my don't believe in this idea that people would not rather go to work 20 30 hours a week for a significantly better way of life and for not.
that's you. That's
No, I
you.
think everyone. I think that goes to everyone. That's just the way I see it. I haven't met anyone
Yeah, you see,
that didn't feel that way.
that's not. I have met a lot of people. So you see,
Sure,
that's not a
sure,
good
but I'm
argument.
pretty
You
sure.
don't
I'm
feel
pretty
that way.
sure. Like I know people that benefit from the system, but all of them work on the side illegally.
Okay, that's still a bad thing. And
It is a
also, if you
bad thing.
save up a
I don't
couple,
disagree.
if you save up, even if you save up 100 euros or 200 euros and you send them back to your home, that is equivalent of a salary. So you can,
Sure,
by living on minimally, you can by living minimally on Germany and you save up 50, 100 euros and you send them back to your country illegally too. You just give them to someone in Germany and then he gives them back to your country. Like you don't even benefit like the tax system
sure,
or whatever.
but
You just done it illegally and and you pass down the money in your home country, and now the math, like now he is in a better situation because he gets to live for free even though the conditions are horrible, but the conditions were horrible in his origin, on his country of origin anyway, and they just gathered the money for him to go there, and now he sends back 100 200 euros that changes the life of his family because that's a big money, and then he sits there and he lives normally, and you just added that he can work illegally too to gain more money and live normally for himself too.
Yeah, but that would be a problem of, yeah, but that's not a problem of immigration. That's a problem of the government not being good enough in their prosecution of illegal work. So that's not a problem of immigration.
Yes.
That has nothing
No,
to do with
no,
immigration.
I can tell you why it is. I can tell you why it is. Because immigrants can benefit from it. That's the thing. Because if it was a problem in your country that had some part of your population benefit from this, and you had this problem that you're trying to fix, then well, that's one thing. But if immigrants can benefit from it, then it becomes an immigration problem because it is a clear incentive for immigrants to come. It
No,
is.
you're
And
missing the
maybe you
point.
are
No,
lucky enough.
you're missing the point. So we are looking for. So you are making the point of social security. What about social security? What about people coming and taking advantage of our system? Right? That's the point you're making. So, and I am saying,
Yeah.
I am saying that this issue, you would have to make the case. For example, let's say it is the case that people get a lot of money for just sitting around, right? If that's the case, if they get a lot of money for sitting around, if they live a really luxurious life and just hang around, then so many people would come in, and at some point we don't profit from it, and the people don't work, right? That will be the case. So, but because that's not the case,
But then I can see now where the problem lays. Because you are assuming that most people, at least, will think like you, and if they can get 100,000 not working and 2,000 working, they will work. But myself included, and the people I know, we wouldn't do that. We
no,
don't
what you
value
do,
the same things in
what you
life.
don't understand is that the reason why people prefer to stay in social security rather than to work is not because they're immigrants. German people do the same thing. It is because
Yeah.
working does not significantly improve their lives in order for that,
Yes.
or they work illegally at the site. And both of these things are issues that have nothing to do with immigration. These problems have to be
But
fixed. No, but these,
immigrants
but
benefit from
also,
it, right?
yeah, but once you have fixed those, both immigrants and Germans will not be able to play the game,
Okay.
basically. So you would have
Okay.
to fix it
Okay.
anyways,
But
and you
as
can't use it as an argument against immigration because it's a problem that you have to fix
as it
anyways.
stands, I can. As it stands, if you fix it and it's not a problem anymore, and Germans can benefit from it, and immigrants can benefit from it, therefore it's not an incentive for immigrants to come, then I agree with you. It should not be used as an argument against immigration. But as things stand, it exists, and people are benefits from it. If few thousand Germans are benefiting from it, and then you add to them
But that's not
other
an.
hundreds of thousands of immigrants who
But can you
benefit from it,
see how
you
that's not
see,
an argument against immigration? If I tell you there is no inherent problem with
it
immigration,
is.
the problem is
If
that
it
you are
is an
not doing your
incentive,
job as a you're not doing your job as a state. The job as a state is to provide jobs that are good enough that it's not just
yes,
the bare
that,
minimum
that needs
to
to be done.
survive. That is your job as a government, and it's
That
also
needs
your
to be
job.
done.
Wait, it's also your job as a government to collect the taxes for working people. It's not okay. Like, it's not okay that some people work illegally, right? So you have to do your job
Yes.
as a government, and if you don't are not able to do that job, then you have failed as a government.
Okay, the way you put it, there is no relationship to immigration because this is a problem in Germany that needs to be fixed in Germany. What I'm
Sure.
telling you, how it becomes a problem of immigration, because it is an incentive for immigrants to come solely for that purpose. And I know at least 10 who came like that. And that's me personally, and I know 10. Statistically, there are a lot of people who are contesting that there are thousands and hundreds of thousands of people who are coming solely
But
for
that
this
is but
benefit.
that is
If you can,
normal. Yeah, yeah, I agree with you. But do you see how we already before we said we need these people to come and to work, right? So we have managed to get them to come, and we could make them also work if we would give them a work that is significantly better than social security. But we're failing at the second step. So I'm telling you, instead of being against immigration, be in favor of making that second step of getting them a good job, and then you're basically done. You basically have solved everybody's problem. That guy is not suffering
You're
hunger. What?
you're not gonna like my next argument because I can see where this comes
Wait,
from,
can
but
you please
the second step,
engage with what I'm saying? You have to engage with that, please.
yeah,
Okay.
I'm engaging on that point exactly
Okay.
on the second step
Mm-hmm.
because the second step, which is to force them to work by offering them better jobs, is just indicative that German people are probably, I don't know many German people, but maybe the average German person will jump on that opportunity. But if you know the average Tunisian person, if there is a chance to gain even 30% without working, they would rather just play cards and sit at coffee. That is, I don't know if it's cultural. I don't know if it's, I don't know what causes it, but I can tell you that not a lot of people are like you. And if, for example, I could get half of the money that I'm getting while working without working, I will take that chance because I love to sleep and play video games. You see, I don't get to play video games the way I live now, but if I could get half the money, you see, I don't spend a lot. I don't like spending money on useless things. So I would usually be my food and like some video games maybe. And can see a lot of men, especially the men who do not get to participate in the dating market, they will take that deal. You see, I can have my doll, I can have my video games, I can have my food. Why would I even work?
To be
Because
honest, I don't know.
I'm not.
I don't see the evidence. I don't really don't see the evidence for that. I feel like most people.
That's
No,
my
the
point.
most people, the most that I can see, like the most. I will be really honest with you. I see a lot of people taking advantage of the German social security system, but 99% of them take advantage of the social. And these are all like the people that I talk about are mostly people that are from immigrant families, and these people mostly do it by working illegally on the side. So they work for like 4, 5, 6 euros on the side, and take also like the very low amount of social security that they get, and it adds up to a just a normal wage basically. It adds up to something like 1,200, 1,300, 1,400 euros. So that's how they basically trick the system. So it's basically a subvention that the German state gives to these jobs, like just like low paying jobs get subventionized, get subventions by the state. It's basically the same thing. So that's what I see, and that's what's I think very very common. The people that are just sitting around and not doing anything, there is also them, but most of them really don't have that these opportunities, as far as I know. And I just don't believe that. I mean, it's at the end of the day, we're not going to agree on this. You think that the Tunisian culture is lazy. I don't believe that it is a fulfilling life.
I,
I don't believe that it's a fulfilling life to I mean I can't also believe that it's Tunisian culture to be like that, because at the end of the day it's also a traditional culture where the man has to be a provider, and I don't know, it just doesn't make really much sense to me.
but then I don't know if in this like stream you can like if it was possible like to run statistics or not, because I think you really inflate. I know we're not gonna agree, and it's
Yeah.
not an insult to Tunisian culture or the North African culture or whatever it is. I'm just saying that a lot of men. I don't know about. I won't speak like for women, and I'm thinking about men who are if you have a family and you have children to provide for, then you are 100% incentivized to have like three jobs that are legal. I'm not talking about that case. I'm saying for a man who is kicked out of the sexual market because of, my other tendency. I believe that a lot of men are kicked out of it. So if all these lonely men they are offered a low pay that does not allow them to have a luxurious life but allows them to survive, I think a lot of men will take it. And the statistics on lonely men are there to prove it, that there are more and more and more lonely men. And the lonelier the men are, the more they're willing to take such a deal. So it is a good thing that you are optimistic about life and you want to get married in the next 5 years. So it makes sense for you to want to make as much money as possible. So even if it means that you have to work a lot. And I think that's a privilege in itself, because if you were from Africa and you worked, let's say, the same energy, the same amount of hours that a German person will do, but it's not even enough for you to survive. So you borrow money to go to Germany, and you find that we will make even more money than what you were making by not working. You will think of it as a good deal. You might start working on the side, but if you want to give that up and start a legitimate job when you have to learn German and you have to interact with people that are not all the time nice to you, that's a significant a consideration that you do not have to make as a German person.
Sure.
But I
I
don't
mean
know.
it's
You
not
made a
even about
point.
laziness. I think like just the sheer fact that you get so many goods, you know, like everybody enjoys going to dinner, everybody enjoys going to cinema, everybody has stuff that they enjoy, going to a concert, doing stuff, you know, like everybody enjoys it. If you don't do that, then you're probably depressed or something like that. Like it could be that many people are depressed, and I'm not saying that they don't exist, you know, like they actually exist. I know people that are really like in a vegetative state, smoking weed the whole day and doing nothing else and just playing video games and smoking weed basically, and that's enough for their lives. But these people are mostly either on drugs or depressed, and that's a whole different topic. But when we look at the average person, like the just a normal regular person, they want to have a average good life, like which means that they can go to dinner, that they can meet with their friends outside, that they can have a drink here and there, and that they can just participate in these just normal social activities. And even if they're the most lazy person in the world, they want that. It's like it's just basic necessities. They have that in Tunisia. You can't
You
tell
are
me that they don't have bars in Tunisia, my bro. You can't tell me that. Like you have bars in Tunisia, you have restaurants in Tunisia. The average Tunisian person enjoys all of these things, and they're not going to be able to enjoy these things with social security in Germany. I'm sorry, they're not going to be able to do that.
okay. You are not. We are not talking about, for example, the guy who is ambitious and who wants to do these things. You
No,
talked
just a regular
at start that
person.
there are.
Wait, is the
Yeah,
regular
you
Tunisian
talked
not
at the
going to
start.
a restaurant? Is the regular Tunisian not going to cinema?
I'm not saying, and the average Tunisian is not as incentivized to go to Germany. You talked at the start, you talked
Sure,
at the people that I'm describing, which are the vegetative state, the people in the vegetative state who do nothing, right? The people that you
they
described at
exist,
first.
yeah, there,
I'm
but they're
saying,
no
imagine,
anomaly
yeah, yeah,
in every
imagine he
culture.
exists in Germany. Imagine he exists in Germany, okay?
Sure.
That you cannot kick him around. You have to treat him or you have to deal with him. He's your problem, okay? But now, imagine there are like if 10,000 of them in Tunisia or 100,000 of them, like who smoke weed every day, who don't do nothing. And now to these people, you can tell them like, hey, you will never gonna work your whole life anyway. Whether in Tunisia you're gonna keep borrowing money from your parents, or you go to Germany and you can be on social security, and it is generous. And by the way, this whole
So the
argument is based
the
on
guy who's in a
that in
vegetative
Germany,
state, the guy that who's in a vegetative state who never did anything in his life is now taking the
yes,
boat to Germany and to go there
yes,
and to be in
yes,
a vegetative state there.
because it's his
I don't know.
family, because it's his family that will put him on the boat. It
Sure,
is
I mean
his
I
family.
get it. I get it.
I have seen it. I have seen a woman making the bags for her son and kissing him goodbye while seeing him off
Sure.
on an illegal boat. It looked like it was on an airport, but everyone was saying goodbye to him. Everyone in the town,
Sure.
including the police, know that he was about to leave
I'm,
the
I mean,
country
I'm
illegally.
not
So
saying, this doesn't exist. It's, but I'm really not. I don't think you should paint a picture like that when you don't have any numbers in front of you. These are some examples. These might be extreme examples. I agree, but I mean, just come to a European. I mean, have you been to? I mean, I'm probably you. I guess you have been to Paris, London, or some European city, right?
just, uh, just Paris a couple of times.
Okay, sure. I mean, just look at the amount of foreigners that you see day to day. When you just walk around the streets, you see a really a big amount of foreigners, and most of these people are working. They're either going to school or they're working or they're doing something. And I feel like
I don't want to. I don't want to lie to you. In Paris, there were a lot of working Arab men. There were a lot of wearing North African men. There were a lot of working Turkish black people. Everyone was working, but the amount of Arabs who are living on the streets in tents and like peeing, the smells, the horrors. There were
yeah,
also
but that's not
people that spoke bad about
that's tragedy. That's like not that's not someone who came to Paris to live in a tent and be full of piss and shit and be in a horrible, depressed, fucked up state. Like that's not something that people came there for. You know, they like, bro. You have to. I
it.
think
Doesn't
you should really think about your perspective. Is really how do I say this? I feel like you don't see them as your equal. Like at this point, you see them. You see a very different state than yours, and you think that
I have
it's just the way
a
they
lot
are.
of
But
sympathy for this.
I don't say
No,
that you
no,
don't.
I have a lot of.
Wait. I don't see that. I don't say that you don't have sympathy. I'm just saying that you have a very big lack of understanding or empathy for how they got to where they are, and also that this is not in. I mean, you talk about, we're talking about people that take advantage of the system, and you mention people that are full of piss on the street living in tents. I mean, that's not taking advantage of Paris. That's not taking advantage of like, that's the nightmare. That's literally a nightmare.
Yes,
Like, that's not taking, that's
yes,
not,
and
has nothing to do with our topic, right?
yes, but do, do you see that? I can completely. We have to make a separation because people who are benefits from the social system, there are one group. These people that I mentioned right now, they're a separate group, and both of them are bad to bring in for different reasons. The first one is because of the financial burden that will cause the people who are working because they have to bring that money from somewhere. And the second group, which are like the ones sleeping on the street, they cause a financial burden because they needs to be taken care of in theory. And secondly, it's not nice to them nor the people around them
But that's a
because
different topic.
if
That's
you
a
were
completely different topic. That has nothing to do with taking advantage of, with somebody with malintent
okay,
taking advantage of the French
you want
social
you want
security
you, you
system.
want to stay you want to stay on the subject of or you want to stay on the subject of taking advantage of social security. I
Yes.
can tell you
So
that
so
there are
yes.
companies operating in North Africa that are organizing how someone would get the benefit from this. I know someone who worked in France for like a couple of years. They got some sort of not retirement or something like this. They live in Tunisia. They just have to go to France once every 3 months to make some registration and go back to Tunisia. And they take all that money and they spend it here, which is,
Sure.
let's face it, bad for the economy of France. And there are thousands and thousands of people who are doing this. And there
How do
are a
you
lot of
wait?
statistics that
Where? Okay.
I can tell you where they're from. These
Sure.
statistics have been brought up. These statistics have been brought up in the presidential election of France, and they have not been rebutted by the fact checkers. So it is
Hmm.
true, and we can go. I can go back to look for it and send it to
Okay.
you later. But there
Firstly,
are
yeah. But why is that? Like, can't this just be fixed? I mean, is that something that is inherently wrong with immigration?
okay. It is, and
I mean,
if it is not fixed,
we can also talk about uh, every negative thing that happens in the process of immigration, right? We can say, yeah, and then there was wages being given too much, and like, there can be so many obstacles and problems that happen in regards to immigration, and so many every time you put on a system, there will be people that try to take advantage of it, and you have to fix these loopholes. So that's your job. Like, that's what you do if you create a system. But that's nothing of that. None of that is inherently wrong with immigration. I can find for
let's fix this one.
everything.
Let's let's
Yeah,
fix this once and for all so we don't go back to this because
sure.
every time you're going to say the problem, since there are some Germans or something that are suffering from the problem, then it is a problem that exists and must be addressed. And I agree with you 100%. All I'm saying is, as long as it is not addressed yet, it forms an incentive for people to just come with the intention to take an advantage of it. And this way, it becomes an immigration problem. It becomes a problem related to immigrants because if you have certain power and you're holding your weight, and now as a Tunisian government I just come and I drop my weight on your weight, now you're dealing with your weight and the weight that I dropped on you. Therefore it's an immigration because you're dealing with the poor people of Germany and you are dealing with the poor people of all the northern African countries that send their poor people to you.
But
If you
that's not
fix
a
that
problem
problem
that
and poor
makes
people
me be. That's not a problem that makes me say, I'm against immigration. That's a problem that makes me say, I am in favor of
uh,
stricter checks who you give social security to. And that's our whole
okay,
discussion.
then
Like, our whole discussion is about,
yeah, but
are we in
after
favor of the wait, our whole discussion is about, are we in favor of immigration or not? Is what are the, like, why should we be in favor of it or why should we be against it? And you say that
okay,
one
then let me phrase it this way.
sure.
Okay, let me phrase it this way. I am against immigration as long as these things are not fixed, but once you fix them, I will be in favor of. Do you get this point now? Fix them first, then bring people.
But
Like
do you
bring
think
the
that
minimum
every
you have
problem
to do.
and so what if I find another what if I find somebody where is your threshold basically for being in favor of immigration? What if I find another small
Okay,
loophole? Wait, please let me finish. So what if I find another loophole where maybe not thousands of people do it, but hundreds of people do it? Will you then be
okay.
against
You
it
want to know my
again?
threshold?
Will you then be against it
You want to
again?
know my threshold?
I'm asking you for
I
the
will
threshold.
give you
I'm
my
asking you
threshold.
for for a concrete.
I will. I
No,
will
I'm
not.
asking
I
you
will
for an
not. I
example.
will not.
You will not be
Yeah.
against it.
If you make the math, I will not be against this. If the math checks out and there are more benefits than negatives, or even if it's just neutral, if it is just neutral, right? Uh, because
Wait,
right
now
now
you
there are a
think
lot of
that
people that are proving that it is not.
so
It is not now. Now it is not.
we agreed that the system collapses if we don't have the immigration. And but
Yes.
and now but now at the same time there is people that take advantage and thousands of people are basically taking money from France, the social security checks. And you think that currently it's a net negative? So why aren't we collapsing?
We are. It's ongoing. It's like the economy is getting bad. Are you not
Wait, the
seeing it? It is
demographic.
collapsing.
You think that the that France's economy is collapsing because of thousands of Tunisians that are taking the social security checks? You think that's they're the cause for the France's economic collapse?
One of the causes. One
Single-handedly,
of the causes.
they're the Tunisian lazy vegetative weed smokers brought down France. Is that what you're saying?
Uh, from for first of all, it's not only Tunisians. I don't want to be
Sure.
targeting my own country. I'm saying it's the whole bunch of aliens. I'm saying that they are causing a lot of problems. If everything was as you were describing, if every one of them was motivated to work, if offered a better job, if every one of them was more incentivized to be a law-abiding citizen, the more they live there, because they will build some sort of attachment or respect to the country they're living in. Then they will be eventually in net positive. But right now, as it is,
Sure.
all the statistics are showing a decline in demographics. All stats are showing a decrease in the quality of life according to the money, compared to the money you're making in France. A lot of people are getting kicked out of the middle class to lower classes, and all these problems, they are not tied to immigration. They are enhanced. They are
But
even
then
more visible by immigration.
but then you do believe that they're just doing it for philanthropic reasons. That we I thought we were in agreement that they're not letting in people because of philanthropic reasons, but they're letting people in because they
No,
need them.
they're okay, they're letting them because they needed them for like money and taxes. Now they're letting them because they need them to make the numbers of the the fertility numbers
So
look
they
better.
so
So
the
it's never
so
from
the
the type of
so
freedom.
they do think that, but that's
You-
the same thing. Like bringing up the birth rate and is a financial that's a financial incentive behind it. So the
Yes,
all the
yes, yes.
experts in government, they do think that it's a net positive, but you think that it's a net negative.
Uh, you see, I think that they have to feed the people who are suffering from, like, say, day-to-day problems of like, uh, I'm not saying crime, okay? I'm not
Can you
saying
please
dirt.
say
I'm not
yes or
saying
no to
bad.
that answer, because it's a yes or no question. Maybe you can answer it with yes or no.
Okay, the question that do
Yes.
the people in the government believe that it is a net positive?
Yes.
I
So do you
believe that
believe
as long
you
as they're
do?
doing it
No,
with
no, 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 no,
yes,
no, 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 no. My question is, do you believe that this is a net negative, but people in government, so you have calculated it in your head that this is the social security bleeding out in other countries. This is a net, and according to you, you're against immigration because you have decided for yourself that this is a net negative. This bleeding of social security is high enough in order for you to say it's a net negative, and therefore you are against immigration. That's what you have said, right?
that's I will just
No, I
fix a
need a yes
small
or
thing.
no.
You're on the right
Okay.
track. Yeah, then no, because you're on the right track. But the thing is, even if it's still in the positive, it could be way better if you fix the problem we were
No, we
talking
don't
about.
care
So
about
it
that.
could
We
be
don't care
better.
about that. We don't care about being better. We don't care about that. We don't care about that. I have
Uh,
asked you. I have
Why
asked
do
you.
you?
I have asked you. I have asked you. Very clear question. I have asked you, are you in favor of immigration or not? And then you have said, I am against it as long as these problems exist. And then I've asked you for your
Yes.
threshold. Then I've asked you for your threshold, and you have said that your threshold is that it has to be a net positive, right? And the
Or
net positive
neutral. Or close.
or neutral, yeah. And I have asked you, okay, where is the threshold for net positive? And no, sorry, and you've said that right now the net positive line is crossed and it's not net positive, it's net negative, right? So it's not net positive or neutral, it's net negative. That's what you've said. That's why you're
Or
against
potentially.
immigration.
Or potentially.
What does that mean, or potentially?
Because of like the numbers of immigrants that are coming every year, even if it is good like the next 2 years, the next three it will be definitely bad, or four or something. It's going, you see, even if it's right
What?
now, it adds up, it won't stop adding up in the near future because
How
the numbers
many?
of immigrants.
How many migrants have to use French social security in order for you to say I'm against immigration?
If I was a French, of course, assuming that I was like in
Assuming
France
that.
trying for the better of France, yes, I would be. I will be happy if the proportion of the people who came that benefit from social security will be the same proportion
Bro,
of,
you're
or
not.
close to the proportion of French people who will benefit from that.
You will not be able to answer that question, because what
No,
I'm
no,
trying
I
to
told you.
I'm trying to
How
make
many
this
people?
following point to you. I'm trying to show
This
you the
means,
following.
bro,
You
bro,
will always
bro, it
find.
is very easy to measure. It is very easy to measure. If you know how many French people are on Social Security, like the original population of France, how many of them are in, let's say it's 10%, okay? Then 10%, maximum 15% of immigrants will be on Social Security. If it is half of them, then there is clearly an incentive for them just to come. That's how you conclude it. Then these are very easy to make. I cannot make these stats. You cannot make these stats, but there are people that can and should, or there are people who can do these stats, and the answer is clear. You asked for the threshold of how many people should be benefit from the system more than they contribute to, and I told you it must be at least equal or close to the situation before these immigrants came.
So
So if they're gonna come and make,
you believe that more damage is being done by immigration than positive comes out of immigration, right?
if that is the case, I am against
Wait,
immigration.
that's
If
what
it
you're
is not,
saying. That's
I
what
do.
you're saying. You're saying it's currently that's the way it is. You are saying
Do
that
you
currently that's the way it is. That didn't you say that?
if you allow me to,
Did I misunderstand you?
if you allow, no, no,
You can
if
just say
the
yes or no.
numbers,
Bro, if I ask you a yes or no question, please give me a yes or no answer, because
okay,
otherwise I get crazy.
okay, okay, go ahead. Reformulate the question. I will answer with just one word. I promise you.
You said that you believe right now you are against immigration because you think that it's a net negative. That's what you said.
Yes.
Okay? Okay.
Yes.
And I say that I believe that the current experts in France and in Germany, they are looking at the statistics and they believe that it's a net positive. And I'm asking you, why
Okay.
are you more qualified to determine? And so there's either two questions. So there's two possibilities. Either you believe that you are more qualified and your statement is more correct than the expert of France or Germany, or or
Oh,
you don't believe that they act in the right intent. So you do believe that they act in malicious intent to Germany and France.
okay. Okay. Now it is clear to me. Okay, I understand.
Which one
The
is it?
okay. I am how to say this? Yes. Okay. If the then yes, I am for, if the immigration is the way they are describing it is, and it is true truthfully, then yes, I will be for immigration because I do not care about the skin color of the people that are living in there. That's it. If
We're
I was
asking, what
defending
are
the
you
right,
now, right now, right now? What are you now? Are you now in favor of immigration or are you against immigration?
you see, I don't love France, so I am for it.
Then
I
you,
am
but then
for
you're
immigration.
saying that, but do you realize that by adding this addition, you are presuming that it is bad for France,
Yes.
right? And
If
because
I
you're
was a French
and
citizen,
then you're assuming that the experts of France are either more stupid than you or less informed than you, or you're assuming that the experts in France are acting in malintent and bad intention towards France.
That's faith.
So which one is
Uh,
it? You
the,
still have to decide between these two. You haven't saved yourself from deciding between these two.
because you see, I cannot claim that I'm smarter than them, but there have been proofs and good solid cases presented by the right wing. I mean, if you try to, try to talk to the right wing, try to look at the arguments. There have been a lot of cases where they have omitted statistics, where they have lied about certain cases, where they have tried to modify some statistics because they want to remain in power while inflating the numbers. So there have been I'm not saying that
What does
I
that
don't
mean?
have the
Remain
statistics.
in
I have
power
knowledge.
and inflate while inflating the statistics. What does that mean?
For example, if you are in power and you bring in more immigrants to solve the problem, to solve the solution, bring in more immigrants
To solve
caused some
the
side
solve
damage
what
because
problem?
solve the problem of numbers, like
But
the
that would
numbers,
mean
to
that
make the
it's a
tax
net
numbers
positive. If you're solving a problem and have negative consequence of that, that would imply that this is a net positive.
okay. It is a net
Correct?
positive financially. It is not overall because let's say it creates some problems in the society that
But
leads
you
to
were
crime and
talking but
differences.
you were
For example,
talking about financial problems. Your negatives are
yes,
financial problems, the bleeding out of social security into other countries.
okay.
Then why are we
Let's say
talking about
these
financial problems?
Okay, okay. I admit that I was wrong about the financial
Okay.
problems, but if you can fix the financial problems right now by having more people who are quote unquote bad, you are also potentially hoarding the finance. Maybe it will not be the case in the next 5 to 10 years if you bring more immigrants. That is also a valid point. You see,
But that's a
if
completely
you're
different
gonna
point.
have,
So you we can also go into crime. It's but it's late. We've talked a long time,
yeah,
but we can. But
yeah, yeah.
crime is a whole different. And to be honest, I think that crime is really similar to the other point as well. It's also something that is
You see,
fixable with
uh,
money. It's also something that you can quickly fix with money. It's not something that it's just a question of how cheap the government is with making this process happen. So we should invest way more money into security. In that case, I'm not a classical leftist. I'm really in favor of police, and I think that we need more police. But that's a question of money, right? And also
yeah.
poverty is also and also perspective. This is all can be solved with money and would reduce crime by a lot, and you wouldn't have all of these
But if
negative
they
things.
feed the people with like multicultural benefits and we don't have to kick them, we don't have to bother them because you see they want the police, but the more there are of them, the less the police is effective against them, against us. Okay, I am one of them. The more you have of us,
I
the
don't
more I
think
will
you're one
feel
of
more
them. I
comfortable.
think I think it's more of a class struggle rather than ethnic struggle. I don't think that you're one of them, and I don't even think that I'm one of them, even though I grew up within them. For example, the big difference between my parents and all, like I grew up in a poor neighborhood, quote unquote, like with lots of immigrants,
Turkish, yeah.
Turkish and Arab immigrants, and but my parents were very different than all of the other parents. My parents, maybe they didn't go to university, but they were still pretty educated, and they read books to me, and they were taking care of my education, and they were helping me and stuff like that, at least until like high school. So even I would not count myself directly in the same class, even though maybe from a financial perspective we were in the same class back in the days, but from a education perspective we were not back in the same class. So I think, and you, for you, it's the same. I think you're in a completely different class than most of Tunisian immigrants.
Yeah, you see, it's not the case because honestly, I don't want to open any big points. Just
Sure.
closely, Russia is more selective. Russia is more selective. So the Tunisians that end up here, they are way better off than the average Tunisian who ends up in France. Russia is
Mm-hmm.
way more selective.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, just side note.
Sure.
Without
Sure.
developing a lot,
Sure.
I think I am way less fortunate than the average Tunisian who ends up here.
Okay.
That's the difference that I think might be effective or not, but that will be also another subject that I don't want to open up. You see,
Yeah. But
uh,
it was a really interesting conversation. I enjoyed that.
yeah, but you can't afford to be very selective. Japan tried to do that, and now they are forced to be less selective by by the way, a quick point. They were
Yeah.
selective at first, but now they're obliged not. They can't afford to be any selective at all. Like they're like, come all of you now. You
Are
see,
they now? Did they
and
open up? No? Did they open up?
they are opening up. Yeah, yeah. There are a lot of, for example, African farmers are here.
Oh,
Some like
really?
taking them to work in farms or stuff like this. But
Yeah.
it's very controlled, like 50 people. But in the next, I believe, in the next 20 years, they will have to change their policies because their closed society will be forced because they're all old people there. They will be forced to be open to younger people because
Yeah.
otherwise they will have no one to work for.
And
But
it's crazy,
okay,
like
it was a
for
very
yeah, for 20 years,
no go ahead.
right wing people have given Japan as an example of a great society without immigration, and now you can see how it all collapsed basically. Uh, yeah,
That is a great argument for your side. You
yeah,
see, I do not care about the color of the people that are gonna end, but if you focus on the right-wing arguments, you can see that all their problem is that they're gonna be other people. That's their problem. It's not that
yeah,
they're against immigration because immigration will solve the problem. Their problem is that there will be people that do not look like them. That's their problem. So
exactly.
you
And
cannot
that's why
argue with them by
all
telling
of
them,
this other stuff is like that's why it's all bullshit. It's all it's all of these arguments with crime
nah,
and financial.
that's too
Believe
much.
me, no, that's
If there is
all.
a
It's
right,
all not. It's the problem is like that. If you talk to a right wing person, and I also want to discover that, and I don't even I don't even am angry at someone for feeling bad about people looking different than them. It's not a problem. I think we should talk about it, and we should also empathize with it. You know, understand it why people feel that way. Okay, I think it's a pretty genuine, normal feeling to have. But what I don't like is that I first, until I get to that point, I first have to show that all of the other points make no sense. All of the finance points, all of the crime points, all of the demographics and blah 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 blah. And then you talk for 5 hours, and at the end of the day, it comes down to I don't like the way you look.
you don't like. Yeah, you see, I do. I think exactly the way you do, except that saying that every single one of the points doesn't make sense. I think that there are few points that make sense, and then they derive it and they extrapolate it and they take it out of context. Then yes, I agree with you. But there are some true things that I cannot deny because when I'm shown these things, I can see them either in statistics or in like your daily life. There are things that you cannot ignore. But I agree with you that their strategy will never work because it is based on inflating uh, and lying. And even if like one crime happened, you see, they will make it look worse than it is. But that doesn't mean that there are certain points that when you are setting an immigration plan that you need to prevent in order to have a smoother transaction, not only for your country, not only for the country receiving, but to also not drain the other country. It has to be a good exchange where you take certain people that you need and you leave the ones, or in exchange you do something. But you see, I don't think the people who are working in the government have that intention in their mind. They just want to fix the problem so they don't look like they have the situation worse than when they came. So yeah, but that's a whole other topic. I
It
just want to
is.
say that I also have to go, but I
Yeah.
enjoyed talking to you a lot, despite disagreeing on some points. We did it respectfully, and maybe we will have another discussion, maybe like like months later, where it will be a subject that I will be better at, and especially I will prepare myself better with more objective arguments to beat you.
Sounds
But
good.
yeah,
Sounds
jokes
good.
aside, I had a lot of fun during this video.
Me too, man. Me
And
too. Send me your debate
wish
with wheat waffles. I want to check it out.
it is on his channel.
Ah, okay.
But I didn't do well. I didn't do well, so I did another video. That was the start of my channel. So my response to Eat Waffles, because
Mm-hmm.
the debate in him, he's an experienced guy. You see, he beats me
Mm-hmm.
with his experience in the camera. But all
Mm-hmm.
my arguments I done in my first video on my channel, which has his picture on the thumbnail.
Mm-hmm.
And despite the quality, the bad image and sound, the video has a lot of great points that you can check.
I will.
And well, I'm hopefully my newer videos are better. You see, I try
I,
to improve on the editing and the voice.
I will check it out. Definitely. Cool, man.
Yeah, it is about
Uh,
immigration, by the way. It is about
okay.
this subject. You can see some of my points.
Okay.
I hope anyone who watched this enjoyed this so far.
Yes.
And yeah,
Same here. See you, I guess. Feel free to text me. Let's stay in touch.
yeah, yeah. Good.
Take care,
Same to you.
man.
Let's stay in touch.
Bye bye.
Okay. Bye bye.
That was a nice stream. Really cool discussion. I enjoyed that. I'm really looking forward to upcoming conversations about conservatism, immigration, patriotism, racism. I would really like to dive deeper into these topics. I was going to dive deeper into autism, and I would really love to do that still. It's really a fascinating topic. But unfortunately, I've gotten really, really low response rates on the requests I did for both content creators and intellectuals on autism. I don't know what the reason is. Maybe it was because of the incel content I did before. Maybe people just didn't like the way I conducted the conversations before. I have no idea. I genuinely have no idea. But it looks like it's yeah, I don't know. I'm still open to conversations about autism, but we're going to, for now, continue with conservatism and general right wing, the right wing in general. Yeah, doesn't always have to be like this debatey. It can also just be about finding out more. But it will probably be a lot of debates as well. Okay, that's it. I hope people enjoyed the stream or will enjoy it later on.